Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Musselman Honda Circuit, live from Tucson, Arizona. It is day number 2 of on-track activity, at least with our live coverage of the Superkarts USA Winter Nationals. You're watching our morning warm-ups and our Perico Pit Box pre-race show. Myself, Xander Clements, alongside Caleb Vieska and Rob Howden. K100 Masters have just taken to the racetrack. It's not a sight for sore eyes, Rob, but a feeling for sore eyes to not be blown away by the wind, to be driving into what felt like a war zone like it was yesterday with the wind gusts that we had here.
Yeah, you know what, obviously when you rolled in here as well.
Oh, hang on. Let's see. You just turned off? Yeah, your mic got turned off. Let's turn that back on.
There we go.
How about that?
In the game? There we go.
There we go.
Now I'm back in the game. First and foremost, walking in from the parking lot right here, you didn't see the carnage that we saw coming in yesterday morning. A bunch of tents destroyed. I always hate that when we get to the racetrack, but that wind yesterday was absolutely unbelievable, and it changed the racetrack a big way. So much dust out there. Very nice to have cooler temperatures again, but yeah, not that wind.
No, definitely not. Happy to not have that again. Like you said, I think it did add a little bit to the racing, but at the same point, where I thought that the wind was probably going to dirty the racetrack up, make it a little bit tougher to lead the race, and it certainly was. We heard that from drivers too. It seemed like that wasn't as big of a factor as it was the fact that it kind of mitigated the draft and magnified the aero wash in the S's. So the fact that that played worse, I'm eating my words a little bit, saying, okay, I'm all right without the wind to dirty the racetrack up for the leader. But I still don't want the leader to get away, and I want to let that be known. I want some good racing today.
Well, that was a big thing they all talked about, right? Was that the big push down the straightaway, coming downhill from 10 down to turn 11. The draft didn't play as big a role because you had so much wind behind you. And then, of course, coming through turn number 5, back through the S's, where they had that wind right in their faces. The draft could have been there, but it was more aero push, if anything else.
Caleb, what about you? Yesterday, we didn't really get a ton of time to allow you to kind of give your thoughts. So haven't been able to walk the grounds for a little bit. First thing that comes to mind, or the point that kept you up at night thinking about that you wanted to let everybody know?
I mean, there was a lot that I was kind of thinking about last night after the first day of action, but to me was, the new faces that we started to see up front in Pro X30 in Shifter as well, and to me, one of the biggest questions after last year with Ryan, moving to a new package, with Austin also deciding to retire, is who's going to be that next American face that we see at the front of that Pro X30 field. And I think we had one driver emerge up at the front, and that was Paulie Massimino. But yeah, that being said, that was one of the biggest things that I think comes to mind here this morning. But like you said, Rob, the aero wash, the draft down the back straightaway, and I think that's why we saw a lot of teams start to kind of tinker a little bit, right? Myself and yourself, golfers, right? And you find yourself tinkering a whole lot in the game, finding that little bit of an advantage. And it's the same thing here this weekend, walking down with GFC, with various other teams. They're looking for that little and slight advantage, and that's why you saw teams going back to that old iteration of the KG front bumper without the holes. And the pushbacks was also surprising to hear that they were saying, with how close those bumpers now are to the tires, the aero wash is almost kind of magnified a little bit more.
It's an amazing thing that over the course of the years, as they've been developing the bodywork, a lot, of course, focused on airflow, that it would be something we were talking about when we were back here in 2013, when the SKUSA was here last time at Musselman Honda Circuit. That wasn't part of the conversation. We didn't talk about aero wash, but with the advancements in the aero and the way they design the karts, to see that the opportunity to go back to a different front nose, and then of course you talk about the fact that without having that extension of the pushback, it bringing closer just changes the whole aero on the front of the go-kart. I thought that was a really interesting thing that JFC jumped on very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it also, the reason we talk about aero so much more now is the difference of tires that we run now from a decade ago. Tom, you obviously were around when Tom Kutcher brought over the MG tires to the U.S. And in the beginning and through, honestly, the beginnings of my senior career driving still, that rubber, the tire was unbelievable. The amount of mounds of mechanical grip and true tire grip that you had on the racetrack. We don't have nearly as much grip coming from the tire now, and yet we've still managed to go faster. For one, we're probably not grip scrubbing as much as we would have been on a weekend like this at a hot, dark surface. That would have built up probably mounds and mounds of rubber. I mean, I could easily have seen, if we didn't have the wind yesterday, we had the heat of last weekend at the RMC Americas Trophy, it would have looked like DKC from 2014 when everybody was biking
Yeah, exactly. That you go back further, even to the Bridgestones, and we used to lay down like an inch of rubber, inch and a half of rubber, and you could you just throw it in the corner and it almost flipped the go-kart over.
Yeah, so that's not the game today,
No.
right? I think we asked Ryan Norberg about this at one of the events last year, and he's like, dude, the game changes every single year. And it's a matter of who figures it out kind of early in the season, and then by the time we get to July, it seems like it's a lot closer. But I don't think I've ever seen a Winter Nationals this close in terms of how many drivers were close on speed. The Winter Series was nowhere remotely near this. In fact, it was an inverse. Rounds 1 and 2 were actually pretty even across the board, and then by rounds 3 and 4, we had a pretty sizable field spread of the top to bottom in the top 10. That's not the case of what we have in store today, and if anything, the support classes seem to have a bigger delta right now. The junior class, obviously an X30 Junior, Ashton Wu and Travis Pettit were lights out. They were above the field, and it was just between those two of picking position, like the senior guys were talking about in their pre-final amongst the top 4. To be expected a little bit in mini and micro because they're a tick smaller. A lot of kids moved up, that there's going to be a couple that figure it out first. But to see the senior fields and even the master fields be this even this early in the year is promising. Maybe it's the fact we've been on the same tire. But yeah, to bookend it, I think why we talk about aeros so much is because we found ways to go faster even without having as grippy of a tire as we used to.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But right on that, right? Yesterday was a story of what could have been for a lot of drivers, and I really think that there was 10 guys in that Pro X30 field that could have won. Yesterday in Shifter, it was the same thing, right? The top 6 were all very close on the racetrack with each other, so you know, this sport, the game's developed a whole lot, and it seems like a lot more of the senior drivers are starting to really figure it out.
I think when we talked to Kremers yesterday, and he talked about the fact this racetrack really isn't designed, I think, for shifter karts. I think we saw a little bit of that. You know, they're going down to third. We're not going to second. We're not going to first. There's no hard-braking hairpins. I think it's a little bit easier of a racetrack for the shifter drivers with the flow, so you're not getting that big gap. I think a lot of the times when you have a track like a Speed Sports or even Newcastle, you know, where you've got some hard-braking corners, I think then you can separate the field a little bit because the guys that are really good on the brakes and can diamond a corner, can get back on the throttle earlier, they're the ones that have the pace, right? It's the newer guys that come in that don't have that. Here, such a flowing racetrack, they're not having to be challenged by a hard-braking corner like that.
Well, you know what's surprising about that? Marion is one of the only drivers up at the front going down a second, because according to him, after speaking with him yesterday, he can't roll third like Jay Irwin or like Kyle Wick.
Wow.
And that is something that I'm sure we'll touch on later
we
on
should.
today,
That's interesting.
Pro Shifter.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Both of us. Wow.
And I was just as surprised as you guys were yesterday when he told me, and I was like, that is...
It makes sense, though. If he's struggling with something, you go back down to second. It's always that extra thing you can do to get out of a corner a lot cleanly.
It's going to be, I think, interesting today to see their pre-final too, with the fact that yesterday got another batch of development, and when you look at Heat 2, I don't think anyone totally stood out. But I do think that some of the drivers, because it seemed like such an even run in the top 10, I mean, we even saw it at the end there with Irwin as he was catching up to Mari, and he just kind of laid back for a second. He didn't really go overzealous. The pre-final is the last session they're going to have on this set of tires. So there's no need to be holding back or conserving at all. So we're going to get a much better read of what the main event's going to look like for them. And when it comes to Pro X30, I mean, yesterday, their pre-final, it felt like it was over in a blip. There was not a lot of time to go forward. So we saw their race look like this start to finish, whereas K Master, the K Junior class, even still had lulls in it. I think that Pro Shifter felt like it was kind of a lull in the second half of their second heat race. I don't think that the pre-final will look like that. I'm really interested to see, because the main event today, I think, is going to be the true test of whether or not it is long enough to have that same trend that we've seen over the years, because this is the shortest lap that the Pro Tour will visit since we've gone to the 20% added distance, and it's still only 25 laps. It's not, let's say, 30 or probably 28. That would, minute by minute, match what we would have done for 25 laps at Newcastle, what we would have done for 25 laps at MCC. I was even talking with Adrian Rennerden about it, and, you know, the longer mains and going in blind, he's like, for me, we're used to this because we have so many long practice sessions with hot pits over in Europe that I kind of know a little bit more of what happens over the course of a session. But the fact that our happy hour on Friday, yes, it does turn them into even and odd groups for qualifying. So in theory, they could just give it up and not go new tires then if they didn't want to. They're not handcuffed to do it like they are in the single speed and all the other classes, really. With that extra quali format, he's like, I still have to do it because I can't run the risk of being seated 12th in my group versus 6th and catching a slow guy on 1 or 2 laps. And so I'm not taking advantage of this 12-minute session. So we're all going in completely blind into this main event. That's the only thing that might save us. But I do think it's on the border, Rob, of whether or not it's long enough that we'll get that insane barn burner last stage, if you will, that's carried the Pro Tour the last 2 years.
And listen, I like the fact that they added the extra distance. And I think that to put that extra challenge on drivers to have to run a 25 or a 30-lap race, it's not just the drivers. We know that it's the mechanics, the tuners as well. What do we do tire pressure-wise? How do we approach that weekend, that event? I think adding that extra has just really taken the pro level of the shifter kart to that next step.
Yeah, and just going on to the point, right? The extra this weekend is only 3 laps in comparison to what the X30, or really, and I'll go down to the juniors, right? The juniors are doing 22 laps. The Pro X30 drivers doing 22 laps. And our pro shifter field, it's only 3 more laps. So I think when we go back to Newcastle and when we go back to Cincinnati, that's really where these drivers will be tested, that extra 25%. But I would have personally liked to see maybe a 28-lapper here, really get these guys to manage tires, because that's been the conversation all weekend, right? Go around, talk to all these drivers, Heat 2, and sitting there telling me, I'm just, probably going to coast this one. Long day. Got to do it. And that was one of the biggest things that I talked to Marian about in depth about last night. He said, I got to do about 40 laps on this set of tires, right? Or 30-ish. My math's obviously not the best, but, with the pre-final coming up, they're putting 4 heat cycles through those tires, and then it's going to be a lot. So, I'm not sure what we're expecting in the pre-final. Might be quiet, might not be. But yeah, it'll be something to watch.
One thing I always say about a pre-final or any race like that is everybody comes in with a different storyline, right? There are drivers, the Irwins, the Kremers, the guys that are up front. They're going to try to hold their position. They know they have pace. Let's see what my tires feel like at the end of the run. Obviously, as you said, the 4th heat cycle. It's the guys in the back that may have had some issues. Those are the ones we probably are going to be watching in the pre-final. They're going to be super aggressive coming forward to try to make sure they get a good start in the main event.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Xander, drivers are allowed to put on that new set of tires in this pre-final. So if you had a bad day yesterday, you could potentially put on a new set, look to work your way through this field.
That's right. I don't think there's been any notables so far in the heats that really are going to be seated up way beyond their pace. But yes, you can deploy that second set of tires or 2 of them at any given point. I don't think you'll see that split strategy, but you might see a couple guys go to a sticker set for the pre-final because it's a little bit shorter outside your top 15. We're going to take our first commercial break here on the day as K Junior wraps up their warm-up. Once again, Travis Pettit, phenomenal speed across both divisions. He looks to be ending up as they finish their final lap, potentially on top of the board here in the morning. But that only puts us 2 warm-up sessions in. Caleb's going to head down to the grid as the pro shifters are beginning to gear up for their opening and only practice session before they go for 2 races today. And we'll see you on the other side. Rob, I've actually got a couple specific questions I want to pick your brain on. So we'll be talking about that here on the other side of this break.
Me too. Oh my gosh. Can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want. Like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need. All at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month. Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
Gee, looks like we're missing the engine. What the hell am I supposed to tag?
What do you mean? It's my Greyhound. It's all I need.
Where's the rest of it?
It doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
You're gonna make weight. Okay, you're good.
I'm sitting by here with Kyle, our race winner. Tell me how you did it. You were blazing fast out there, and I mean, you don't even have a go-kart, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know, Norberg, Schmorberg, the Greyhound-powered Greyhound was great today. You know, it makes the difference. And the team's been working really hard back at the shop, and, you know, just shout out Greyhound.
Thank you, Kyle.
How the did you just win?
Doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
Welcome back, everyone. A little bit loud behind us as the mini Swifts get underway for, or micro Swifts get underway for their warm-up session, because sounds like one mechanic forgot to tighten the exhaust springs, Rob.
I heard that too.
So a bit of a slower start. I told you I had a couple questions for you. I have one that I want to start, and this is, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this, right? Obviously, biggest talking point is the fact that KA Master, X30 Junior, Pro X30 have taken the pushback bumpers off. Now, I remember it's been a few years that I've can think of a race where you were really hammering on the drivers on the microphone. I don't know if I want to say it's you've gotten kinder or easier going in your extra years since then. But I remember back at the Supernats, back at the Pro Tours, these guys got to hit the brakes, put your hands up with the yellows. So where do you feel about this decision to take the bumpers off, truly?
Well, I'll say this. I remember being at NOLA Motorsports Park that year. I can't remember what the actual year was, when guys were just literally driving down into the opening corner and just driving over top of each other. It was ridiculous at that point. And I guess maybe over the years, maybe calming down a bit, or maybe just realizing that it wasn't making any difference. But I don't think we talked a lot about it yesterday. The one thing I was worried about not worried about, the focus was going to be, hey, listen, if there's an issue pulling these the pushbacks off, what's it going to be? Oh, we're going to have rough starts. That was always the thing. I think guys are going to just plow it down into the starts. We didn't see a lot of that. You and I weren't talking about really a lot of overzealous moves into turn number one at the starts of those races. So that's right there. That's the positivity of it right there. The fact that people actually maybe don't do that anymore. Is that muscle memory that they don't dive in anymore? Will they start thinking about the fact that, hey, I'm not going to get a pushback? Otherwise, I thought the starts were really good yesterday.
I think the Stark is different, and we didn't talk about it for sure because there was so much going on. I do think that the Pro X30 start was a little bit gnarlier than the Junior one. But it goes along what my theory has been for the longest time, that our grid caps are just really, really high. 30 drivers, X30 Junior, no problem at all on those starts. Maybe one or two casualties, but it looked no different than the K start with 50. I mean, the K Senior start with 50 was obviously terrible. Went under red, couldn't even try them. But the Pro X30 start was a little bit wild with 46 of them. I think having that many is just tough to get a gauge on. But I do think that they were really good about calling all the incidents, right? Norberg, when Sangera got sent into him by Bonilla got the penalty for it. With the same thing with Kaminsky, when he kind of went down on the inside and collided with Butcher, he got a penalty. So they were right in the fact that the marshals were catching every incident. Seeing the way this weekend's played out in terms of who's gotten penalties and what the weight of them is, I think that's where I would like to see, or maybe to have a conversation with Neil Strickland and with the rest of the Superkarts USA officials about, all right, do we do a weighted strike system where the penalty gets harsher if you get the same one, or you've already had just a generic penalty earlier in the race weekend or even earlier in the season, right? If you already had an avoidable contact in the pre-final, you get another one in the main event. To me, it shouldn't be the same weight. It should be double, because where I'm going with that, Ruben Moya excluded on Friday because he sent Dean Peterson into Timbuktu down at turn 4. Okay, fair enough. He was also excluded from yesterday. That is harsh. The officials, to their credit, made a very clear stance on it in the drivers' meeting. They also said that there was a precedent set by some over-aggressive driving in Texas. And I remember seeing a lot of posts on social media about the Supernats, too, of a lot of wrecks in practice. A lot of people frustrated there was only being noted warnings, which, again, this is one of the, this series and really the other handful of Marquee National Series have been forced to bring their entire race control staff for practice day to keep people from wrecking into each other, which is a different issue. But my point with that, so Moya loses all of Friday. He loses all of Saturday off of sending someone. And it was an intentional move. But Bonilla getting into Sangera is 5 seconds. It ended Norberg's race. I Kaminsky Butcher deal basically ended Butcher's race as well. Still only 5 seconds. So I don't feel like those kinds of sends that are destroying someone right now are strong enough in comparison to the fact that they are, to the credit of whether it's me on the soapbox, you on the soapbox, or enough of the paddock saying, look, we want you guys to take a stand. We're not going to ostracize the series if the series does ban some people or bring the hammer down, because they brought the hammer down on Ronnie White. They brought it down on Ruben Moya. There's another junior driver that's serving a suspension for laying his hands on another driver, a full year suspension for doing this
One of those deals.
in the scale line from Speed Sports. So there is some heavy-handed penalties. I just think that the race penalties right now probably need to be a little bit harsher if we keep going down this track. But a kudos to the marshals, because it did seem like they caught everything.
Well, again, when you take the physical, the tech side of it, and you get rid of the pushback bumper, right, then all of a sudden it goes into the hands of the race marshals, right? It goes into race control. They have to drop the hammer because they're the ones that are going to stop it. You know, if you want to stop a certain behavior, you have to drop the hammer with a penalty. If the penalties are soft, then guys aren't going to worry about it, right? Yeah, I'll send it for a 5-second penalty. Yeah, I don't care about that, or a mistake I make. So I'm with you on that. I think a heavier penalty is something that's going to, again, balance off the absence now of the pushback.
And I don't think at all that it's even in the ire of the marshals that they're doing anything wrong either. I think, if anything, they're actually doing a phenomenal job. The problem, not even the problem, but I think the fix is just that the matrix needs to be looked at. And for the on-weekend marshals, while they know the rule book, and they may be some of them may be involved in the writing of it or revising of it at the beginning of the season, or when revisions are needed mid-season, which unfortunately now we've started the season. I don't want to see any changes into round 2 or round 3. But it's just they don't have the last bit of tools in their toolbox to make those kinds of changes, to take a 5-second and say, okay, Bonilla, let's say he did have a penalty in the pre-final, you just got a 20-second or a 10-second penalty for that same move.
I can get behind a matrix that over-penalty or adds more penalty to someone who's a serial offender. Like 100%. If you continue to do it, it's a 5-second, a 10-second, a 20. Hey, you just did it for the 4th time on the weekend. You're out for the weekend. You're out for the day. You know, I again, behavior needs to be taught and what's accepted, right? If you let it happen, it's going to happen. If you don't let it happen, it'll stop.
Well, with that, I'm glad we're on the same page. I was curious about what you were thinking on it, because, like you said, I think the same thing. I don't think we touched on it a lot. I thought the pre-final was exceptionally clean. I think anytime I feel like we have a delay in the day gets long, especially if it's a hot weekend. Drivers lose their heads, and we see it on display on the racetrack. Whenever we've gone past about 4:30 p.m., not only do our viewers get a little bit tired, but the drivers do too, and then the racing suffers. So I think that might have played into the Pro X30 start and their main being a little bit more chaotic probably than a 22-lapper should have been. But as we switch gears to Pro Shifter, right, and Caleb's down on grid, I know he'll be getting some intel for us. Outside of the obvious notables, Jay Irwin and Marin Kremers on the front row, which we did figure out today, it's going to be championship points that seeds them for the pre-final, and then it'll still be a championship accumulation because the pre-final pays double the points of the heats to set them for the main event, versus where and the reason for that, beginning of last year we did some merges, the way the tiebreakers would work out if you had someone win the pre-final versus best of the heats. It would fall back on qualifying, whereas realistically it probably should go to the pre-final winner for the later part of the weekend to get the nod. So kudos to Tony Leon for making an adjustment on that. I know that was posted. That's on me for not reading up on it. It's on you.
I didn't see it.
Well, it's not on you. It's actually on David Cole, because he's the one that's supposed to be checking you guys as well. It's on me for my guys. But who else? Who else right now to you is a notable that you've seen?
You know who really stepped up in a big way in the second heat race, Xander, and that was Kyle Wick.
Yeah.
And he was aggressive.
Yes.
It was an aggressive Kyle Wick, like almost like he was angry, you know. But he just really got up on top of the wheel and went at it. Again, Kremers for sure, Irwin super fast. I was really impressed with Kyle Wick yesterday. Like, he all of a sudden thrust his name into the maybe this guy could come away with a win this weekend. And he's raced here before. You think about the old Challenge of the Americas events. He was here a lot, winning a lot of races. GFC won a lot of races, dominated podiums here in Challenge of the Americas competition.
I agree. I think him, Michael Avancino, Gage Corn being here last week, I think that's a testament to a little bit of extra local knowledge that, you know, in the way these heat races are, we really only saw guys make up about 2 or 3 spots or drop back about 2 or 3 spots. It was hard to move forward. It was hard for Josh Conker and Gavin Bailiff to make up any spots, which Bailiff's going to be really interesting. I don't know if you caught this yet. I didn't get to let you know right before he went live. Finnegan Bailiff will be a scratch for today. He's going to sit out and recover. Obviously a scary moment for him in KA Senior, and then X30 didn't go too well. Gavin will be taking that X30 kart and running in that pre-final and main event. So he's going to be doubling up. So talking about Gavin Bailiff having a not-so-amazing weekend in Pro Shifter, I wonder if that might help him a little bit, getting on track one more time before their main event to really get a good feel, because X30 pre-final, last session before lunch, Pro Shifter main event, first one after.
I talked with Gavin yesterday at lunch, and he's not happy with his power. That's the biggest thing right now. They feel like the engine's a bit flat. They just don't think they have what it takes. And again, we talk about how competitive this field is. If it's a little off, 2, 3, 4, 5% off, you're not 10th, you're 20th.
Well, and that's why Martin Kremers was smiling from ear to ear. When's the last time you've seen him have good power? And that's why I had to ask him last night. I mean, it has been so long since he's had it. Jay Irwin, whenever he did have everything rolling good, he was lights out at the Winter Series too. There was only 1 or 2 days where they had not necessarily a bad motor, but literally a failure. But they were using that two weekends, those 4 rounds, to do a lot of R&D. I think it's showing. Marian even mentioned it on the show too, that the package was good when he got there. It was the best when he got there. The field caught up. It was still pretty good, but it was a little bit harder. And last year, I think you kind of saw it on display, where when we compare the 2024 season, where Morgado was just unbelievable. And then Danny gets in the car at the Winter Series last year, and he goes, dude, I can drive at 75% and hit the same lap time. I was pushing myself to the limit last year. He's like, the power these guys have is insane. And then we got to the Pro Tour, and they weren't head and shoulders above everybody, right? It was pretty even. They were a 3rd and a 4th in Texas. They were a top 5, top 7 in Cincinnati. Obviously, they were good in Newcastle, and Irwin, unfortunately, the engine let go on him. Morgado was still good there, got cleaned out in a back and forth with Andrew.
That was rough.
That was wild. But I think this weekend, they look like they have really good horsepower. The GFC boys look like they have good power. To me, it looked like Formal was holding back. I think he's been good, and I think he's been taking it really, really easy. Musgrave in that last heat still moved forward. He seemed happy almost that the pipe had a hole in it in Super Bowl. Like, I mean, that should have been dismaying, knowing how stacked the field was. His confidence has not wavered once. And that's not easy, because of all of his years of experience, he's never rolled up to a Pro Tour in Pro Shifter with the 1 plate. That's pressure.
It is a lot of pressure, but like you said, the issue in Super Pole put him back to 12th. But man, you watch the passes he made in those heat races, working his way forward, throwing it in the inside, really dominating the guys that were around him. And he was aggressive, but controlled aggression, if we put it that way. He didn't throw it in to make any wild moves or anything. He just worked his way forward up to P6. Again, another guy, he's not going to start on the front row, but you know what happens, a little bit of argy-bargy in turn number 1, and you can find a guy like Musgrave right in the middle of the fight early on.
There's 2 Sodis I want to touch on a little bit as well. One of them at the top of the board right now as we finish warm-up here. Mateus Morgado, he mentioned it yesterday post heat number 2, that their speed is exceptional in the cold weather. It's not the greatest right now when it gets hot out. Now, it's still pretty cool out. It's going to get a little bit warmer. Obviously, you and I have our jackets on right now. It's still pretty nice, but we're starting to feel the sunshine. Morgado looks good. He'll probably look good in the pre-final. I think the main event we'll have to wait and see, but for Adrian Reneden, to me, his racecraft over the last year of getting to watch him across the Pro Tour and at the Stars Championship Series reminds me a lot of watching Oliver Hodgson in X30, where it's as if he was in Groundhog Day, and that's this for every race event, where you look back at the move and the move makes perfect sense, but in the moment to make the move to pick the pocket of 3 guys in front of him, you're like, no way, how did he even do that? It's some of the on the limit, as tight as you can get, like physically to an inch away, and sneaky is almost the best way I could describe the racecraft of watching him.
I like it.
And it reminds me a lot of some of the moves that I've seen out of Hodgson. So yesterday, he didn't seem like he was quick in the heats. And obviously, Morgado was struggling too. If they get it figured out, either one of them would be fun to watch. We know Mateus Morgado is not afraid to send it, but I think it could be a very funny 1-2 punch where Mateus gets into it with the guy in front, Adrian just gets by both of them.
Well, I think what you said, when you got a couple of guys working together, that's the other unknown on the day-to-day, especially for the guys in the Pro Shifter class, in all the categories as well. All it takes is that one team to find the one thing they were missing, right? And again, you talk to some drivers, and they just won't know what was missing. I felt like I was flat sliding a little bit, had a mid-corner understeer. But literally, when we talked to Mateus, he knew exactly what it was. We just lost a bit of speed when it got super hot. So they're going to sit down, they're going to work on it, and if the 2 of those guys come up with the solution that works, you're right, they're going to be right back out there, because we know Morgado has the outright speed.
as we look at the rest of them and kind of break down the rest of the warm-up results, I mean, right now, Quarantine Russo has also had a very quiet weekend. Probably, I'd put him in the bag with about 10 drivers that either qualified and then qualified what seems to be about 5 spots higher than what the race pace has been, or qualified 5 spots worse than where the race pace has been. And that's probably fair to put from about 7th to probably 18th or 20th even. He's been in that batch, edge of the top 10. Not really super noteworthy, and I don't think that that dude gets probably enough credit for leading 22 of 25 laps at Cincinnati and being lights out on the pre-final that event last year. I mean, that was like just the first 2 rounds of the Pro Tour compared to how this weekend has played out a year ago. This weekend seems like a lot of the favorites have been good. The first 2 rounds of 2025, like I was blown away. I couldn't have predicted the pole winner, the pre-final winner, the heat winners, the main event winner. I mean, I don't know if we'll get an upset win today. I think it'd be super cool. I would love to see a West Coast team take advantage, because I know that'd be a huge sense of pride if they could win this one, though, for sure.
Well, if we're talking about GFC, there's a couple of guys they have, a couple bullets in the gun with Kyle Wick and Danny Formal. Both those drivers, can run up front. You said that you think that maybe Formal was kind of just taking his time, cruising through those races, banging out good results to get a good starting position for the pre-final, because the pre-final really is the one that matters, right? You could have the worst heat races and drive your way to the front in the pre-final and still have a chance to win the main event. So there's opportunities for Formal, and then, as I said before, Wick was so impressive in Heat 2.
Because Danny's stat line is pretty good when you actually look at it, right? Okay, so he was fastest in happy hour at round 1 of Speed Sports last year. Says he felt like he got a bad set of tires. That hurt him all the way through. The pre-final, had to drive through the field. He did so in the main event. His next event was Summer Nats. He won that. 1-2 with Kyle Wick, 7 seconds up from the field. You know what the event he had before Texas, the last one he was able to make?
What's that?
Super Nats 23.
23.
When he won it.
When he won it.
In Vegas.
Yep. Smoked everybody.
Yeah, so to get to see him running as good as he has been, and I believe I may be off on that. There may be 1 or 2 in the middle, but of the noteworthy Danny Formal events, and he even texted me going into the weekend, he's like, I just hope I get a good package, because if I do, I feel amazing. And the results are there to show that if he looked to me as good as he did in those heat races, and then he gets what he says a good batch of tires for the main event, watch out. We'll have to wait on his side. Now, Kay, seniors on the racetrack, they're getting started with their warm-up session. A lot of noteworthy points here that we will be getting to in a moment, but we do have one more break to step aside from. We'll talk about them, and that'll allow Caleb to also give us some more intel, and then come back as well with our picks for the final couple of warm-up sessions to get underway. So the Perico Pit Box will continue, and hopefully with better luck for us, unfortunately, than it is for the 994. Jackson Menchu, as you can see, off to the side in turns 9 and 10. We'll be right back.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Massimino wins the Wisconsin Grand Prix. James Overbeck on start number 2 gets win number 1 in OKN Stars.
On track or off, Brandon Jarscak Racing delivers elite performance. Led by 4-time Pro National Champion Brandon Jarscak, our team masters driver coaching, data-driven analysis, and mechanical precision at every national event. Contact us today at BrandonJarscakRacing.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Kay Senior is starting to get towards the end of the warm-up, so I'll correct myself, Rob. Had a moment to gather my thoughts about Danny. So let's go back. There was a couple of races in between. They were good ones. 2025 Winter Series, Barrel Art, one-off ride, wins that weekend, right? The previous year, 2024, Orlando, second in that wild way to Morgado, and then the 2023 Supernat. So he has been first, second, double first. Then he had the, and in the middle in 24 was when he was going to do the one-off with Velocity Sodi, broke his ribs on Thursday, didn't get to race, so scratch that one. So still was a 1-2-1, and then obviously fastest in practice, doesn't get a good set of tires, goes to the next one that he's available to get to, and he wins it. So he's got a phenomenal stat line. This one, results-wise, a wild stat line. Rob Ruben Moya fastest so far here in KA Senior.
Well, is he doing it with anger? Obviously.
Or does he have a new set of tires from yesterday that he didn't get to use?
I'm just sure he's happy to be back out there driving again, that's for sure. We talked already about Ruben and the DQ for the contact he had in practice. But yeah, getting out there, put the hammer down, and maybe the new tires, whatever it may be. Bottom line is that at least he's back in the fray again. It's going to be fun to talk about him today.
I got to give a tip of the hat as well to his team owner, Greg Welch, and to Kyle Kunze over there at the FDM tent. I caught up with Kyle for a split second yesterday. He's like, you know what? He's like, as much as it is harsh, I'm glad they're doing something on practice day. I'd rather it be too harsh and just, I tell Ruben, don't do that, dude. Yeah. Like, what are we doing? But, hey, fastest on Sunday, you make up for it. Maybe it is with the new tires that you didn't get to use yesterday because, again, all classes do get that sticker set of tires to run on both days in the doubleheader format. Isaac Malcutt was on track for what should have been a top 5 and a very impressive day for him yesterday. And on the flip side, of course, a not-so-impressive day for, or an unfortunate day in that same final for Finnegan Bailiff. His brother Gavin is standing by on tap for what is going to be a very interesting Sunday for him. Caleb?
Yeah, very interesting indeed, Xander. Still a lot to be figured out as well. Gavin, news broke this morning that you're going to be running double duty, potentially, and again, still some stuff to be worked out. Just tell me about, the decision to run the single-speed package as well this weekend.
Yeah, after Finn's big incident in the K yesterday, which got to start by saying I'm glad he's okay. He's at the hotel right now, trying to get some sleep and some rest and hopefully heal up. But yeah, he's hurting pretty bad right now, so it sucks to not see him in the kart. But with the KA being so close to back with the shifter, we're gonna go out in the X30, just see how we go in the warm up, and then kind of make final decisions after that. The qualifying session for X30 is right before the Pro Shifter pre-final, so I still got to figure out with the series how we're going to work that out in the scales, and there's Scott in the background acting like a dork. Yeah, but just going to have to figure out how that's going to work with the scales and whatnot, and just see what we can do.
Look, we've talked a lot and in depth this weekend about this racetrack, right, and how the shifter package drives almost like a single speed. Do you feel like taking part in that X30 warm-up is going to give you a little bit of an advantage to the field?
Yeah, it is. This track definitely does drive a bit like the single speed in the shifter. I know that we're not driving quite as hard into the corner or looking for more roll speed. I think that's probably going to help a little bit in the X30, and then going from the X30 back to the shifter. Luckily, it's the same tire, but going back from the X30 to the shifter might even help me a little bit more because I've been out of single speed for quite a while. Last race was KA in Daytona for the kart week, but yeah, I think with all the practice I've had in the shifter this week and the same driving line, it's going to kind of convert over to the X30. The biggest thing is just going to be the braking. That's going to be it's going to be a bit of a struggle. I might blow the first couple corners, but we'll see in the warm-up.
Well, let's talk about the shifter a little bit because you've been struggling this week, and we can't fail to mention, and you won this Winter Nationals last year. What do you need to do today to kind of get back there?
We found some pace in the morning warm-up. I think the timing was a little bit screwed up, so we're kind of guessing where we are. I think we're finally sitting up in the top 10, which it's huge progress because all week we've been down in the low 20s, high teens, and it's just been a struggle. Yeah, winning this Winter Nationals race last year, coming into this race, we're looking for some good pace, and it just hasn't been there all weekend. We've been doing something every session to try and figure out what's wrong, what we're missing with the package. And yeah, the Winter Series this year, we were good. We had good pace, won the first round, podiumed the second round, and then third and fourth round we were close contenders. So coming into this, we were expecting to be up in the front more, and we just haven't been all weekend. So we're going to kind of reset for the Spring Nationals, and obviously the weekend's not over yet, so we still have time to fight.
Thank you, Gavin. Best of luck.
Thank you.
It's certainly not over, but an uphill battle for the boys in Pro Shifter. For Gavin Bailiff, that's a lot on tap here today, Rob.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to be done. We know how tough it is. It's not like it's 70 degrees here either. It's going to be potentially in the low 90s, at the very least high 80s. I do like the transition back and forth, but I think one thing we talked about earlier when Caleb and I were saying, for a driver like Gavin, who was so far outside the top 15 and instead even into the 20s, that pre-final is going to be his opportunity. If they figured something out with that power plant, because I know they were down on power, they were struggling at least with the power they needed. If he's able to come through to 9th, 8th, 7th, if there's a little bit of chaos, he could be a guy in the fight as well. He's already shown that he's one of the top shifter car drivers in the country now.
And I don't think chaos is out of the question for their pre-final, right? It feels like every class at one point in a weekend has that session that's just over the limit. If you don't have it up until your last session of the weekend, you kind of feel like the tensions are building, and then the last session of the weekend's pretty bad. It's like the big one at Talladega for NASCAR and Daytona. It's a weird feeling when they get through a race and they don't have a big one, right? It's a weird feeling when we have 4 race sessions for these different classes across the 2 days, and there isn't one that is hairy. Sometimes it's the very first one. KA Senior was the second one. Pro X30 was the second one. Mini, micro, the junior classes. I guess X30 Junior was a little bit silly in their pre-final.
To a certain extent, yeah.
But they haven't had a crazy one yet, and Shifter certainly has been very tame so far. It feels like tension's building.
When it starts to boil over and drivers start getting struggling a little bit, start getting a little bit more impatient, then they're going to start getting to work for sure.
Ashton Woon put a lot of patience on display when we talk about X30 Junior, Rob. He's obviously top of the boards here in the warm-up presented by RPG. Yesterday, if that was a mini Swift race, if that was even potentially a KA Junior race or even an X30 Junior driver race at any other venue, that would be the perfect strategy. Push the guy away, take it easy. Problem was they both were running so fast that by the end of the race, Woon's tires were cooked.
Yeah.
And he was just sliding around trying to hang on, and he was just stuck at about a 3-car length bubble behind Travis.
And I think we saw that happen. He's obviously in the draft, coming through the S's the whole time, really working those front tires, and you could see that he just didn't have that mid-corner off. That Kart had a little bit of understeer every time, and then that last run through turn 10 onto the back straightaway, he just didn't have anything to even really mount a challenge.
Hopefully today goes a little bit better for Ashton Woon, but there's the RPG Juniors going all the way up to the top. Travis Pettit, Royce Vega here in the sponsored class. I wonder, how much Royce can close the gap to Travis today, because he wasn't far off yesterday. There was that pack of himself, Tristan Murphy, Nico Katowski. They looked good, but they were not quite there in the main. So, how much overnight can they find as we kind of get ready to put a bookend here on X30 Junior? Because those are the 3 that would need to step things up.
Well, he's at Speed Concepts Racing, so things are going to get changed. Whatever he was missing, they're going to be able to find. Mike, Alex, the whole crew over there at SCR are going to know what to do. They're going to figure it out. They're going to sit down and talk with Woon, and once they decide what they want to do, we'll see him back to the front. He's P1 in warm-up right now, so whatever they found or decided to do moving forward, you know that the guys in the big teams are going to find extra pace overnight coming into Sunday.
They've got a minute more to put it on display, and then a little bit of time to turn things around before qualifying. We'll take a send back down on to Caleb, because as we get towards the end of X30 Junior, that means only 2 more warm-ups remain. So Caleb, starting off with Pro Shifter, give us your pick here. Who is getting the checkered flag in Tucson? Sorry, we'll go to Caleb last. let's go into our picks then. I'll lead things off. All right, let's take this through here. So we'll go down to Caleb last on the order. I'll give you mine here, Rob. I talked about him a little bit. I think the big guy is due, and I think Danny Formal to me, I don't think he looked the strongest, but I think that was by design a little bit. I don't think he was trying to look the strongest in the 2 heat races yesterday. I feel like GFC, they have him. They have Kyle Wick, who obviously looked really racy in those 2 heat races. Both look really good. And the fact that as of today, it looks like Formal should be able to run all 3 rounds of the Pro Tour, contend for a championship. He's on what appears to obviously be race-winning capable equipment, podium-capable equipment, and it's the one notch in his belt of all the championships, all the accolades, and now as a factory Lamborghini sports car driver, he has not yet climbed the mountain of the Pro Tour, Pro Shifter Championship, especially in a class of this caliber and this level stage. I think Danny Formal is going to get it done today.
I like the pick, and I don't think we talk a lot about. I don't think the motorsports world talks enough about Danny Formal and what he's doing now in sports cars and what he continues to do when he comes back and runs karts. I think it's something that's unbelievable to watch, and I hope that if he does end up coming away with the championship, they really laud that in the sports car world. I was kind of leaning towards GFC myself, watching what Kyle Wick did yesterday in the second heat race. I thought he may be the driver that would be able to come to the forefront. But I keep looking back at Jay Irwin and the consistency he's had and the momentum he has and the confidence he has over the last couple of years. We've already talked about the fact that he almost had a championship last year and just didn't have it after the issue at Newcastle. I think he looks really good here. I think you're going to see Jay Irwin as the race winner at Pro Shifter.
Well, Rob's got Jay, I've got Formal. Caleb, on to you now. Who do you got here for Pro Shifter?
Actually moved back into my honor range, but we talked a lot about different drivers that could be in the mix. To me, one of the ones that I've talked to a whole lot this weekend is Billy Musgrave. He's talked a lot about the tire wear, and he's talked a lot about the degradation, and I think he's going to be the driver to look out for to manage his tires better than everybody else. So that's why Billy Musgrave's my pick for Pro Shifter.
All right, there you go. Formal, Irwin, Musgrave as our 3 picks. Neither one of them, neither one of ours are starting on the front row here for the pre-final. Jay Irwin starts on the outside. I think Marian Kremers is too much of a layup here to give it to him. But he joked yesterday, Piece 2 has been suiting me pretty good in the heat races. He's gotten a lot of teasing over the last couple of years for his notorious unfortunate streak, a terrible record to have with the number of P2s he's had at the Supernats. But don't forget, again, he's gotten it done. There's a lot of other drivers here that even are beyond our 3 picks. Who do you have winning Pro Shifter? I've got Danny. Rob has Jay Irwin. Caleb has Billy Musgrave. We'll find out, obviously, when they take to the racetrack later on, but we'll take a quick break now here as the final 2 warm-ups get underway.
You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy, because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Sunoco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
Final 2 warm-ups underway. Mini Swift on the racetrack right now as they try to see if they can get a little bit closer to the RPM Nitro karts. They were certainly exceptional yesterday, Rob. Mason Brody, Jake Manalio, Lucas Tarango with the RPM crew this week. They outnumbered poor Dutch Westbrook quite a bit, 3-1.
Yeah.
Hudson Howard couldn't quite get there. There's some others that'll be looking for speed, but right again, here we are in warm-up. 1, 2, 3, 5 RPM Nitro karts there, and then Westbrook slammed in the middle of them. They have gotten a good handle here on Musselman Honda circuit.
Well, you got to give props to Westbrook, too. As I said before during the race, nobody out there helping him at all, 3-1 odds, but was able to work his way to the front on many occasions. Brody, Manalio, Tarango, 3 strong drivers. Stoffel's going to be in there now, too, I expect. But let's see if Westbrook's able to come to the forefront. I think it'll be an even sweeter victory for him if he's able to come through and beat all those RPM drivers.
There's one thing we know about Mini Swift, though, at a track this big, speed's only going to matter so much. That's a ticket to the dance. Then you got to play. And, well, when we talk about the racecraft, yesterday Pro X30 had a whole lot on display as we take a look back to them getting ready to go out on the racetrack here for warm-up, and also a little bit of the activities. We got to kind of show you guys a little bit of the highlights yesterday on the post-race show as well, but let's go ahead and start things off with the beginning of the main event here, Rob. Paulie Massimino, Joe Turney, and based on the pre-final, we did not think they were going to be alone, but right here, this start, the way it was kind of pushing and shoving down to turn 1, Hodgson got out of shape, got into the side of Lawrence. That started to split the field up, and then from about this moment on with Keegan Kaminsky's hiccup there into Sean Butcher, it started to get pretty hairy in that main event.
I think overall that we saw that Paulie Massimino, a really good handle on the racetrack. His Brandon Jarczyk racing team strong. They know the car was good. He was very good. He was very self-deprecating about himself. The interviews making mistakes. There was a lot of chaos on the racetrack. That was a tough one there. That battle in turn number 4, Xander, when we had Aiden Ingrata and Jake Drew kind of get together, both battling for that same little part of the racetrack. But in the end, Joe Turney was able to work his way back to the front, and it was a mono-a-mono battle. And there was that other battle later on back in turn number 11 that saw Butcher go off the racetrack.
Right. And I as much as I don't want to see the pushbacks come back, if we can keep this handle up and have good racing, and certainly some of the moments in the middle of the race would have looked like, okay, yeah, we need them. That last lap, compare that last lap to that KA Senior last lap where Caden McQueen got rooted out of the way from 4 car lengths back, and you would think that this was the class that had the pushback bumpers still on it, and KA Senior had taken them off.
Right.
So if there's any, to me, argument about it, it's the fact that those boys put on a great, clean display.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's a message you want to have permeate through the paddock, it's the respect that we have for the drivers that have respect for each other. When you see a race like that where they're banging on each other, they're leaning on each other, that move up the inside at 12, that the last-ditch effort for Paulie Massimino trying to get that race win, but coming back, and both drivers at the end were like, I'll race side by side with those guys anytime. That's the kind of message we want. That's the theme of this series, folks. When you show respect on the racetrack, you're going to get it from everybody else as well.
Let's go down to pit lane. Kayla Vieska, what do you have for us?
By with Gus Lawrence. Gus, yesterday was really a story of what could have been for you. Fastest on the racetrack, 35th at the start, and then back up to 3rd. Just tell me a little bit about yesterday.
Yeah, the first final without the nose pushback was an interesting one for sure. Like at the start, I was on the outside and just got collected, and then once you get on the marbles and then get shown the wall, you have to back out. And then, well, at the end of lap 2, I was 25th, and I must have gained 10 or 15 places at the end of the first lap. So I was way down, and then obviously the race pace was amazing to come back to 4th on track, and then obviously game 1 after tech to P3 for the podium. So again, what could have been, but it wasn't too bad after all. But it could have been way worse, but it is what it is.
What do you think you need to do differently today to kind of get away from all that?
Well, you just need to, ideally, if you're on the inside, you're sort of a little bit safe if you're at the front on the first 2 rows or so. But it's just, it's nothing you can do. It's your fate is in the hands of people behind you, and that was what happened.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, so again, when you have that first weekend without the pushback bumper, you're going to get drivers that are going to run with respect. We talked about that, and we're going to get drivers as well that are going to try to take advantage of the new opportunity to get deep into the corner. Again, we'd go back. We started the show off with the fact that it was some pretty disgusting racing a number of years ago, which led to the starts were so bad, everybody was wrecking each other. I don't want to see that happen again. Hopefully some penalties will continue to come down, but as Gus said, perfect example of in the back like that. When you're back there, you're getting drilled going into 1.
Yeah, it was tough to see for sure. And again, I think that was probably the biggest blemish on the day. I don't think a lot of those incidents that happened later on in the session, I mean, first of all, with Keegan Kaminsky getting out of shape, right, that was because he locked up on the inside. That wasn't because he got sent. He was trying to make something happen when everybody was parking the bus down on the bottom. You could make a case again for Bonilla getting into Sangera, but to me, that probably was not going to push the pushback in, so I don't think that would have made a difference. The starts is the only argument, but I'm going to stay on the stance of if we were 30 or 32 like X30 Junior, it would have looked as clean as that. Gus Lawrence, I can tell reading between the lines there, he's not a fan of it so far. Fair enough.
I will say this about the back straightaway coming down into turn number 11. We saw a lot of overtakes. That's a great place to overtake. You get the run, you get the draft, and you make the move to the inside. With the tailwind, you can't use that draft as much. So I think a lot of drivers were maybe making more low percentage moves to try to make a move to the inside. Kaminsky's move was never going to happen. He was down to the bottom, the dirty part of the racetrack. They're not able to leverage that big draft that you'll get when you don't have the tailwind, right? So I think they were just pushing maybe a little harder than they probably needed to.
Well, let's go ahead on here, and while the Pro X30s get ready to head out on the racetrack, we've got just one more warm-up. Of course, a quick shout-out to those of you watching along at home that this will be the lead-in to qualifying. We'll be talking about their practice session, and then instantly Rob and I will head down to the booth. Caleb Viesca will continue getting interviews, but for now he's getting ready to come back and join us for one final time. We watch them now release from the grid, 47 in total, getting ready to go for Pro X30, and a few drivers that yesterday were kind of quiet. Blake Nash I would kind of put in that same boat. Obviously Oliver Hodgson, Gus Lawrence, Joe Turney, Paulie Massimino, speed-wise right up there, but Blake Nash was far from the only one that kind of probably caught us off guard a little bit for not quite being as fast as maybe the momentum from the Winter Series would have been. And I know that yesterday they weren't feeling exceptional, but I think that they, talking with Seth Nash yesterday morning, they feel really, really good for Sunday. He's far from alone on that, Rob. Who else kind of surprised you that you think flew under the radar yesterday, but could be a real notable today?
I always wonder what the rookies are going to do in their first kind of full year in the Pro Tour. Alexander Vanchev was very strong. A lot of guys, obviously he's got Gus Lawrence there, he's got Butcher there, so there's a lot of data at Rawlson Performance Group that could potentially help him work his way forward. One of the great stories I thought was Oliver Calvo. He comes in here with his brand new program, his Calvo driver development. He's able to put the thing into the top 7. Impressive run.
Yeah, and there's no tools a lot on the grid, obviously, so this is going to do it for him. They were trying to obviously work on something with the carburation. It doesn't seem like it was throttle cable or anything weird. Nope. Okay, he's good. I thought for a second with the screwdriver there that might have been in trouble, but you know what? It's a warm-up session. I don't have any problem with it. I hope the field doesn't either. We'll send him out, but yeah, this is a really critical session, vital one for Ruben Moya on Sunday. And now Gavin Bailiff, as mentioned here, he's able to get out for this warm-up session. Their pre-final should be okay. The warm-up for Pro Shifter will be a little bit tricky with the way that's lined up on the day, though. So as much track time as he can get, the main events will be easy. This will be the first session. Let's see if he blows a quarter like he thought he might, Rob.
He did say that the brakes were going to be the big thing for him. I would assume that Superkarts USA will do what they can. It all takes is waiting for 30 seconds for him to be able to jump out of one kart, run up the grid into the other one. So indeed, the transition, he said he hasn't driven a single-speed kart since Daytona as well, and that was a KA. So I love seeing him get in the car and doing it. If it helps him out at all in Pro Shifter, that'll be cool to see. But he did say that he found something at warm-up in Pro Shifter as well. So happy to see that for him as they were struggling yesterday with power.
And the GFC boys, I talked to Sonny Cervelli for about 5 seconds at the podiums. They were looking really good after the chaos of the start. They had 3 real shots inside the top 10 between Jake Drew, Nico Sarfati, and Guy Kaminsky. And he was like, yep, we looked really good. And then one went down, another went down, another went down, and then all of a sudden the day was not good. Their speed looked good, and Jesus Vasquez Jr., shout out to him. He started back with Ryan Norberg, and somehow, some way, the seas parted, and he went up like 16 spots in lap 1 from 20-something, umpteenth, to 5th. Got all the way up nearly to 3rd, and then the speed wasn't quite there to stay there. But for a day, coming off of how good he was at round 1 of the Winter Nats last year, he had a podium on day 2 back then. He was good through the whole season at Newcastle, too, finished 3rd. Yesterday, far from it, but that kid's no stranger to starting from the back, Caleb.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it was funny because me and Buddy spoke before that main event in Pro X30, and he just came up to me in the morning. He was like, man, you got to come up to me before every main event because I made up 16 spots in that opening lap. So, nonetheless, he was impressive and just building on momentum, right? 2025, first full season in 125cc, and then coming back this year. It's just continuing to build and continuing to gain momentum for GFC.
Should we talk about Davin Roberts and what he was able to do yesterday? For him to be up there, again, we talked about the rookie crop, for him to come up to P4, I thought was absolutely tremendous. You punch it above your weight class, right? You're in there, you got your elbows up. I always talk about the juniors coming up and running against the drivers they've been watching here on Kart Chaser for a couple of years. There's a lot of pressure there, right? But he performed extremely well, stayed out of trouble, and was given a fantastic result as a result of that. Fantastic
and
job.
Davin Roberts, quiet day,
Yeah,
fifth.
that's what I'm
How
saying.
about that? I mean, for Davin this year, he's no longer a rookie. By the age, he is a year or potentially 2 years younger than some of the true rookies in the class because of moving up early last year. Last year, he ripped a top 5 in Wisconsin. He had a heartbreaker after an exceptional run at Houston at the Winter Series. They have made the lengthy trek all the way here to Arizona from North Carolina. A little bit down in warm-up, but again, who knows how they'll end up. Ruben Moya this session, not as easy going as the KA one was, but Dean Peterson, big pickup overnight compared to yesterday as we look at the times here. Jake Drew and Ryan Norberg also big improvement speed-wise for both of them. Drew had the best of the rest kind of qualifying out of the GFC contingent, but none of them were really strong in the hot lap session yesterday. So hopefully today goes a little bit better for the boys in black and white.
Well, and Roberts, there is, again, top 10. So listen, when you can warm up top 10 after a top 5 finish the day before, he's got to be super happy. There's a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence there for that young driver.
And so there's a look at the full results here as we begin to put a bookend on the pre-race show in the Perico pit box. Warm-up all done and dusted. Aiden Ingrata fastest. He was another one who I thought I was kind of taken aback that he didn't have the leg up on the field that it looked like he had just a weekend to go, but still was good. Today's a new day, and today we begin to make our picks. And to me, if there's anyone who's due, I said Formal was due, but that's because I think his stat line's been exceptional. I think Sean Butcher is absolutely due for some good luck. At some point, it's going to break through. There's been no question about the speed. His accolades speak for themselves, but 3 times now we've watched this guy in Pro X30 action have the speed and the ability to go and contend for the race win, and something has taken it out of his hands, completely out of his own control. I normally will tell drivers it takes 2 to tango. Sometimes you could do something a little bit different to not be in a wreck, even if it wasn't your fault. There was nothing he could have done yesterday. There was nothing he could have done with the parts failures that hurt him at the Winter Series. I think Sean Butcher's going to get it done today, Rob.
As much as I would like to go into the field and look at somebody fun to talk about, I just think that anytime Joe Turney is here and at the top of his game, you just can't not pick him. He looked so good yesterday. Came out of the box super strong. Was able to get a little bit, I don't say luck, but was able to kind of find his way through the opening corners there to get a little further forward. But the minute he got up front, the minute he got to Massimino, they just kind of went to work. Both those guys looked really, really good. But then once Turney got to the front, he's just so hard to get back around. I think the comfort is there. He's very happy with the package. He's back with his mechanic he's always been with here. I think he's going to be tough to beat. I'm going to go Joe Turney.
Yeah, and the guy that was closest to him yesterday was Paulie Massimino, and I alluded to this yesterday, right, or earlier today. Paulie, we talked about the new face in American karting with Austin Garrison retiring, with Ryan Norberg with the new project, and I think Paulie Massimino is that face, and I think he learned a whole lot from yesterday, and that's why Paulie Massimino is my pick for Pro X30.
Well, Rob and Caleb got the top 2 from yesterday. I'm betting on a guy that didn't get a chance to go and fight for the top 2. Who do you got? We'll find out soon enough. Qualifying's up next here for the double duty classes, and the Pro Shifter pre-final will be following and in the mix of all the pre-finals later this morning. Rob and I are headed to the booth. Caleb's headed down to pit lane. That wraps up this morning's Perico Pit Box. We'll see you on the other side of this ad break with K Master Qualifying.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
Welcome to the future of kart race preparation. Kart Sim Pro North America. Featuring laser-scanned North American kart circuits and precision-tuned kart physics developed using real telemetry, dyno and tyre data, Kart Sim Pro North America delivers the most advanced and realistic kart simulation experience available today. Whether you're training for race day, refining your lines, or shaving tenths off your personal best, Kart Sim Pro gives you pro-level insight without leaving your home. Trusted by world champions, coaches, and karting enthusiasts alike, this is where virtual practice translates into real-world performance. Experience the thrill, the challenge, and the edge. Kart Sim Pro North America. Use code CHASER20 to get 20% off today.
So welcome back, folks, to Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Qualifying, getting ready to wrap up here for the drivers in the KA 100 Master category. Fantastic three-driver battle yesterday between Phil DeLeo, Bailey Murphy, and Josh Arche. There's your checkered flag, and Bailey Murphy back on top right now with a 53.303. DeLeo just 31 thousandths of a second back. Mario stepping it up a little bit here. He's 77 thousandths of a second back. It's just 800th rather separate your top three. Ryan Kasner showed great speed yesterday on that best car for Prodigy Motorsports and his Kasner program. A P4. He'll very likely be in the middle of the fight if he's able to start closer to the front this time around. Chris Mann advances as well. Better for him up to P5. Josh Sarche down to 6th. He was in that battle up front yesterday. Elizondo ends up in the 7th spot. Falcone in 8th. Pierce Baldus and Dan Jones rounding out the top 10.
Much closer than yesterday. You're right, Rob. This looks like a tight field. Unfortunately, here's we check further back. Josh Daly from comfortably in the top 10 in both the pre-final and the final, down in 11th. Trevor McAllister, what a phenomenal run he had through the field in the main event yesterday. He is the worst out of our kind of second group that was hunting down the top 3 in that main. He's got work to be done here today, going all the way back from row number 8 on the outside. Long road ahead there. But instantly, we're gridded up already for our first race session on the day. Here's a look at what's coming your way, folks. Qualifying for all the support divisions, beginning with KA Junior here next up. Micro Swift set to follow. Then it'll be KA Senior, X30 Junior after them. Mini Swift, Pro X30, most of those classes will be split in 2 groups for qualifying. I believe the micros ran as 1 group, if I remember correctly, yesterday, but the rest all massive enough they're going to have to split them in 2, especially KA Senior and Pro X30, near full houses for both divisions, 40 deep. And then, of course, the Pro Shifter pre-final, it'll go 14 laps, 2 longer than the heat races, but still only half the distance of that 25-lap main event they'll have later this afternoon. Of course, for those of you watching along here for our free coverage this morning, that means that that Pro Shifter main, that's also free to view. So while we'll lose you for the pre-final sessions later, you'll have the main event for Pro Shifter to be able to catch that free to view, top of the hour, Mountain Time. It'll be right after our lunch break when we come back. We got a great show in store for them. Racing was good yesterday nonetheless as well. We've got a lot of races also on tap here on Kart Chaser. Rob, we talked about this at the beginning of last year and a couple of times that you've joined us. We're busy. Here's a look at what's coming your way as well for race weekends coming up. We have a break next week, Easter weekend here. It's our first gap week in, I don't know. I've stopped counting. I'll be honest with you. But we do have a handful of race events that are headed up and coming our way next year. The U.S. Pro Kart Series gets underway here in 2 weeks. And we've got a number of major events that'll follow that up, including a doubleheader weekend in the middle of April. The Indy Karting Challenge over at Whiteland Raceway Park, they had their opening day yesterday. They'll have another round on April 11th as well on Kart Chaser Grassroots. And the schedule continues. But for us and for the race teams, next week is the first kind of bye week in a while on the schedule, and I'm sure it's probably going to be well received. Albeit for many, it's going to be spent on the interstates, moving everything from the west over to the east as this traveling circus gets ready to head to North Carolina for 3 major shows back to back to back.
Yeah, a lot of racing happening as the season gets underway. Q1 coming to a close. Obviously, the Winter Series getting themselves all wrapped up. Drivers able to get the season underway. Drivers moving, up as class, getting comfortable through those winter programs. But now the full national season underway with the launch here of the 17th Superkarts USA Pro Tour here at the Winter Nationals. But again, as Xander said, lots of coverage, many events throughout this season here on Kart Chaser. And again, looking forward to seeing how things roll out here today. Always a new date. Not so much for the drivers in the Pro Shifter class. They got to continue rolling through. But everybody else able to start afresh, pressing the reset button, whatever changes were made after sitting down and debriefing with your drivers in the evening yesterday. Ideally, some drivers will be able to work their way forward. And indeed, if all goes well, tighter fields. Xander, we often see tighter fields coming on Sunday because those who struggled were able to find a little bit more pace.
Indeed. Sunday brings ultimately 12 hours. Well, take out some of it for sleeping, but a number of hours to scrub the data and the video to go a little bit better. And when we compare the track conditions from yesterday to today, they are very, very similar. We obviously don't have the gusts of wind. Beyond that, Friday probably didn't transfer a ton into the yesterday's sessions and may have contributed a bit to the field spread. But today, you get all that data, all that useful onboard footage, and you were forced to be around so many drivers at the same speed, whereas you're not in the practice sessions. So you got a much better look at where you're missing that little bit. Because when someone passes you in a practice, Rob, and they're half a second faster, 0.8 faster, you might get a corner behind them, but it's really tough to make that minor adjustment. But when you're right behind someone that's 1/10 or 2/10 faster than you can really see and make adjustments on the fly or know exactly what's that next little bit that you need to try and chase some speed.
Agreed. One of the big differences right now from yesterday to today is the flat out the temperature. With the winds that we had yesterday, I don't think we even got out of the 60s until probably 11 or almost noon. So right now, 78 degrees here trackside. So the temperatures are going up. We're expecting it to very likely be, I think, into the high 80s. I don't know that we'll reach 90 today. but still a much different conditions in terms of track temperature than we had yesterday morning.
Well, we just got an update from race control. Unfortunately, as cool as it would have been to see, Gavin Bailiff will not be racing an X30 today after all.
Okay.
I wonder if he'll end up taking the KA ride. Who knows how damaged that thing was after Finnegan Bailiff's scary moment destroying the tire pack. Not by his fault at all, but right here on the start in KA Senior yesterday as they got going. They were hard into the outside retaining wall. KA Junior underway for their qualifying session right now. A couple of minutes in for them so far for the first group of 2. As you can see, Nathan Ramirez once again fastest so far here out of the slow group right towards the top of the pylon. What a heartbreaker it was yesterday after getting, I won't say a gift, but it certainly was helped a little bit by the KA Junior fast group kind of all playing games with each other. He gets to start on the front row, and then Broken Reed takes him out of the running instantly. Had a valiant effort back to the field in the main, though.
Yeah, he did. And again, showing good pace here. We got to see the very start of that race when he just got rolling, he knew something was wrong. They were eating him up coming out of turn 1, coming out of turn number 2 and 3. Eventually was able to get out of the way. But as you said, then was able to battle his way back forward. But again, a new day. That's the thing. The beauty about the 2 main event structure here with Superkarts USA is you're able to come back, press that reset button, and do it all one more time.
1 minute to go. They got the full 4 laps yesterday in this group. Looks like they're tracking for much of the same today just because they went straight to it right out of the pit lane. Now, granted, Sebastian Hauser making a pass on Braden Wagner here. This will hurt a bit, but I think they'll get back to the finish line before 5 minutes hit. If this timer's correct, that means that they won't get the checkers yet, but I think based on what we saw on Saturday, this will be the final lap, which means Nathan Ramirez and along with him, Clayton Stiles could be in the driver's seat for an even quicker lap, although they've kind of caught up to Hauser and Wagner a bit too early in the session. So as they roll down to turn number 11, all bottled up. Is this going to go any better than where they were a day ago? Let's see it. Checkers are indeed out here at the line, and there will be a change for Clayton Stiles. He'll go faster. 52.587 Iron Rock Motorsports with a good effort for both of their juniors in the terms of Alex Chandler and Nico Orbezo, but now with Clayton Stiles fastest by a full tenth, that's a good bit of confidence, and as well we'll have to check that against yesterday's pole time and probably subtract 4 tenths. A great note by David Cole as well down on pit lane. 4 tenths an improvement from Saturday to Sunday qualifying for K Master. This track is fast here this morning, Rob.
Clayton Stiles on top. Ramirez, who drove from the back of the field up to 12th yesterday, comes in second. Sebastian Hauser third. Hudson Hidalgo in fourth. And Maces Moses rounding out your top 5. Braden Wagner has been very impressive on the weekend as well, but he'll be 6th in this group here, and knowing that another set to roll here in the KA 100 Juniors, so don't expect those drivers to hold those spots, although if I would have said that yesterday, I would have been wrong, because P1 and P2 yesterday from the slower group ended up being on top with all the action, a little bit of chaos we saw during qualifying. We'll see whether or not, Xander, this fast group for KA 100 Junior learned their lesson from yesterday.
I hope so, right? I mean, that's what you would hope with the kids. I mean, this is still obviously a ton of development. You've got drivers as young as 10 years old off a waiver, or at least being able to turn 11 years old during the calendar year, moving up into the class. A number of very fast young guns in the division, like Nico Orbezo, who started to make a couple of starts at the end of last year in the class, but this is the first true full season for him. He's at least he's taken yesterday's notes from qualifying into account. He said, you know what? I'm going full beans out of the pit lane. He has dropped everybody and is rocketing away with it. Obviously, fastest in Friday happy hour, or the overall Friday happy hour session, is what sets the groups. And an inverse on the strategy here for Nico. You can see behind him there, a couple of drivers. First one up was Colton Schneegenberg pulling to the side on the backstretch to reset. I've always liked to try and go on my own a little bit in terms of the strategy for qualifying. If I want a toe lap, I'm going to reset myself on lap 1 or lap 2. I don't mind giving a toe on the out lap. I don't mind giving a toe on the first lap, but normally most drivers, well, I won't say most, but some, they kind of switch gears mentally. They're thinking strategically at the beginning of this session, and then they go into full focus on hitting their marks in the second half of the session. So all you got to do to play the cards or play the drivers around you, which is the name of the game in draft-oriented kart racing classes like the 100cc divisions here with the Ks, like with Mini and Micro, get them into hitting their marks mode, and then you can go back into your strategy mode. That's at least what's worked out for me in the past, to certainly have a couple quality sessions where I punched above my weight class pace-wise, is by doing exactly what Ashton Woon just did right there. Get them all up to speed. You can see they're all kind of working on hitting their marks right now. Nathan Golseth's leading the group. Travis Pettit's at full speed. Nobody else really bucked out of line to reset, but keep an eye on Ashton Woon back there in that black and white SCR machine. Same livery here as Nathan Golseth leading the pack. He's now going to be teed up, not for a good lap this lap, but probably a good lap on the next lap. Fastest so far out of this group, though, however, Cameron Johnson. That was the same case as yesterday. He was quickest early in group number 2. He's currently punched up to the 9th position. We take a look back here at the qualifying results from yesterday. Now, again, keeping in mind that, of course, it was the group 2 times that were fastest, and it was a 53 flat. So a 52.5 is a half-second gain. I wonder if we could get to the low 52s here, since it seems like the fast group has certainly gotten their act together here on Sunday.
Yeah, they'll get all 4 of their laps. They're lining up nicely here. As a move to the inside there, the 8:06 coming to the bottom of the racetrack there to try to get a little more. That's Santiago Orioli. He decided he wanted another spot. Up front, though, it's Johnson. Cameron Johnson does go to the top again. Back-to-back fast laps in his group there as he now goes to the very top with a 52.495. So we're below the 52.5. Xander's thinking 52.3, maybe 52.2. We'll see if that happens. But Johnson works his way up there, as does Travis Pettit to 3rd. Murphy into 4th. Orioli 5th. Ashton Woon 6th. Styles, that fast lap, though, still holding on for P2. We'll see whether or not Clayton's good run there of 52.587, maybe enough to hold him into the top 10, though still 2 laps remaining. Of course, the fastest laps of everybody in the opening group coming on lap number 4.
Trying to look at who's on a burner or potentially for one right now. Ashton Woon is closing up to one of the Iron Rock machines further back. I think it might be Chandler. And then as well, Cameron Johnson has closed up to the back of this group along with Schniegenberg and Pettit. So watch those 4. Let's see if they go to the top here as they go by the line. Woon does go quicker. Johnson does go quicker. A little bit, but not by much. No, actually, he slowed down a touch. So Woon the fastest now as they start the final lap. I think he and Alex Chandler have a little more in the tank. Chandler popped up to 5th on the times there. Nico Katowski, Nathan Golseth have led this pack the whole way. They probably won't go to the top. Pettit with a pass there. That'll probably hurt him. Hurts Orioli, and someone just went off.
And look at this, Styles still holding on to P3 from that opening group. We're going to see in potential another solid qualifying run from the slower group. Lock on and hold here. You got Styles in 3rd, Ramirez in 9th right now. Tough one for Katowski, all the way back in 18th.
18th for Nico Katowski, not ideal. This lap at least clean enough. Got a shove on the first stretch into turn 4. Didn't get any help on this back straightaway. No toe for him, no toe for Abezo, but he'll go to 4th, now 5th, now 6th as they all shuffle, and it's Katowski. Nico with a burner on the end of the KA Junior Quali. 52.209, Rob. That is 0.8 clear the pole from yesterday.
And he was 18th after lap number 3. We saw that he was able to get himself from the front of that group. Talk about putting in a burner. Nico Katowski from outside the top 15 to P1 with a 52.209. Xander, you called it a low 52. We got it, 72 thousandths of a second back for Pettit. Woon jumps up, Chandler as well. Last lap hurt a little bit there for Styles, but still P9, top 10 from a driver who was in the slower group. He'll be happy with that.
And Nathan Ramirez ends up 13th. A lot of the slow group drivers still punched above the top half of the field, so that's good for them. Here's a look at the rest of the results, and just like that, 2 classes are set for round 2 activity here from Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson. A fast and furious morning. We're getting straight to business here. Thankfully, no wind gusts. Beautiful day in the outskirts of the Sonoran Desert with the mountains in the distance down at some of the southernmost parts of the country that we will visit all year. It's a hot one in store here for the SKUSA Winter Nationals. The heat gonna climb to the low 90s. We'll be back.
IAMI USA West is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50+ years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
Are you stuck with your kart racing? Not sure the ideal kart setup? Or going to a track for the first time? Well, Kart Class has the answers for you. Our online portal has a wealth of experience and knowledge to help your kart racing. From kart setup advice to track guides that are targeted specifically to your circuit, or the driver coaching aspect with mindset, racecraft and driving techniques. If you want to take your karting to the next level, visit us at kartclass.com.
Karts have been released for Micro Swift. We touched on it a little bit earlier as their session gets underway. For those of you watching along and enjoying the action here as we begin the 2026 national calendar. Whole lot of events coming your way here on Kart Chasers coverage. Next week's our first gap week in quite some time, and then it's a packed month of April. You can see we've got doubleheader weekends to kick off the month on April 11th and 12th here, the U.S. Pro Kart Series, the Indy Karting Challenge on KC Grassroots. Then right after it, Stars Series gets underway. So two back-to-back events that are unofficially, I guess, 2 and 3 on the U.S. kind of traveling circus national calendar. Same point there, Champions of the Future America Series also gets underway. The SKUSA Pro Tour takes a sidestep into the background for quite some time. We talked about that for momentum yesterday, Rob, and I think it's a great point to lead back into the Micro Swift division. This is the event where you really set the tone. Now, granted, the classes that have two main events that are running the doubleheader format, much better to end on a high note, I think, momentum-wise, Sunday versus Saturday, and that's where Tristan Francisco certainly is going to be looking for an upper day today in terms of the on-track activity. But let's talk about the heartbreaker here. Bo Wyatt,
Yeah.
What an unbelievable display he put on the racetrack yesterday. He got, unfortunately, a jump start violation that placed him back to third on the final standings. We called him to the win, and outside of the start, make what you want of it. We didn't have really the best angle to judge a jump start with kind of our head-on angle of whether or not that was. Obviously, Race Control, they have a lot more cameras than we do. Different style, but they do have a good look at everything on the racetrack, and so they assessed a penalty for Bo. But that kid, that first true win where he gets a stand on top of the podium is absolutely headed his way. It could happen today if the speed is anywhere remotely close to yesterday, because he didn't just get a gap and then hold it. He broke away, and they were trying to catch him.
Listen, he put in a fantastic performance for a young driver, and I would love to have seen him come away with the win. We, of course, got the notice that the jump start penalty, and I kind of felt just so gutted for him. I hate to see that happen. Jump starts are so tough when the drivers are coming into the tram lines. They're just punching off a little early, maybe just a little bit ahead of the driver alongside. I hate to see it. But again, this is what racing's all about, right? There's one winner, and there's a bunch of drivers that are losers in the end of the day. So it's a mental push for the young driver. I watched him come up to the podium. We called him. He still had a smile on his face. But I 100% agree with you. We're going to see him on the top of the box, maybe even today, but sometime for sure early in this season.
One driver that we have seen on top of the box that did have a valiant effort in the main event yesterday after having some woes in the pre-final was young Jack Katowski. Nico set the bar pretty high for the brothers. Pole in Junior Qualifying. Now it's time for Jack to try and live up to it. Now, he was the standard in Texas at Speed Sports Racing Park. That kid's had an incredible winter, by the way, even off of our coverage at the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour. He was a standout stud, star, truly, in the micro division. And then at the Winter Series in Texas, both weekends, the RMC Winter Trophy, he was a contender there. Had to have some international competition bring the fight to him with the two kids from the United Kingdom that joined the field and brought the fight to Jack. But otherwise, I mean, he has been the standard. And yet yesterday, yes, cleaned out in the pre-final, but even on lap times compared to Bo Wyatt, he wasn't there. He was second best He clawed his way all the way up to the podium. That was important for the championship because when we talked about a little bit of the points and what it looks like over the course of a season in Micro Swift, typically there's 2 or 3 kids that really get things figured out, and so you need to be a third or worse on your worst day, or third or better on your worst day, to have a shot at the championship fight. We expect him to obviously be quick today. He was quick early in this session. He's faded a little bit right now. Tristan Francisco has since pipped him for the top spot, as have a few others. Benjamin Monroy, Andres Marcelo Pena, Emmett Dalton. Very similar to what we're seeing in terms of the final couple of or the second day, seeing the delta come down in the division, the lap times get quicker, and more importantly here, it looks like only half of the drivers in the Micro Swift class are going to get 4 laps in total. The back half did not, but I think all of our major contenders fighting for pole are in the front half of the field. This will be the money lap right here. I think Jack's on a burner trailing up to Trey Sanders.
If he's using that draft coming down that back straightaway, you see the yellow flag flying further back. Here's the rest of the drivers. Francisco, 56.202. Does anybody have anything for him? Monroy still holding on to second. It's actually Emmett Dalton up to third. Dusty Strayer to fourth. Jack Gutowski does not go quicker on the final lap, and he ends up P5. So Francisco, yesterday's winner. Xander, 56.202. Second on the track, first in the final results. Francisco will start on the pole here in Micro.
And notably, 1.3 seconds faster the quali time today in Micro Swift.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I don't know how much of that is just the fact that the winds have, again, not blown dirt on the racetrack, but we heard that it was a real tailwind on a lot of the straightaways too. So with much lower winds today, maybe the track is cleaner. Maybe the rubber is just really loving the temps that we've got here for this cooler start to Sunday. We know it's going to get hot. We know it will slow and maybe grease up a little bit. But Sticker of Vinco Blues have been laying it down, and the lap times have been dropping immensely. I don't think I've seen a difference from day 1 to day 2, Rob, like this in quite some time. KA seniors are about to be flat flying around this place.
Yeah, aside from a rain day, I don't think you're going to see that much change. Because normally when we're coming in, obviously the rubber goes down. Yeah, you may get a bit quicker on Sunday and actually may get greasy and you go the other direction. But this kind of wild change, of course, with those 40 mile an hour winds yesterday, the dirt on the racetrack like crazy. I like the big difference. It's going to change things for the mechanics as well, because obviously the grip levels, Xander, are a lot higher than they were yesterday. There's Jackson Menchu, very impressive young driver who has shown well here this particular weekend, jumping up here into this KA 100 senior category. Field set and ready to go. Xander Malatesta as well. It's always fun coming back year on year, Xander, when you see the young drivers who have moved from micro to mini to junior, and then that big move from junior up to senior. I think that's the big move where they find themselves in a much bigger spotlight. A lot more time potentially here on Kart Chaser, but to run against the drivers when you're 14, 15, many of them 17, 18, 19, it's a bigger swing in terms of the guys you're going to go head-to-head with.
And, I mean, you look at how stacked the front of the field is, right? So many Pro X30 drivers running double duty. I mean, they were the class of the field yesterday. Ramos, McQueen, Massimino. They had some drivers join in on them in the battle at the end. Paulie and Caden got away early. Massimino in his post-race interview joked, he said, yeah, being me, I had the lead, I had it covered, and then I put it off track. It wasn't his fault, honestly. I think the track was just so dusty and dirty so often that it was really hard to predict, and we saw that in the lap times. But that's what brought the rest of the field close, but we ended up, of course, having one of the double-duty drivers end up on the top step. Will that be the case today, or will we see a new face emerge in KA 100 Senior? Who knows what's in store for us as the first of 2 groups get queued up here for qualifying. The action continues here from Musselman Honda Circuit in the heat of the desert, but at the same point, we haven't experienced the heat yet. The heat has been the lap times dropping like no other. The Superkarts USA.
McCrone Motorsports builds champions every day, drivers who won on the world stage. The Tillotson T4 Series is pure spec racing. Same engine, same chassis. When you win, it's because you were the best that day. Your edge is not the kart. It's the setup, the strategy, and the race team. With our Arrive and Drive program, you simply bring your gear, we provide the equipment and the championship-winning support to every event. Stop wrenching, start racing. Your path to the T4 Nations Cup in Spain starts with us. For more information, contact us at mccronemotorsports.net.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy, because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Sunoco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
Welcome back to Musselman Honda Circuit as qualifying continuing for round number 2 of this year's Superkarts USA Pro Tour. Here's what we have next. Rolling up here, KA100 Senior Qualifying. 2 groups as we know. X30 Junior will follow. Mini Swift Pro X30. Get the qualifying, and then we'll get back to some wheel-to-wheel racing. 11:25 local Pro Shifter with their pre-final. This could be an exciting one as drivers are going to be working their way from the back. Those up front trying to lock down their spots for the main event. KA Master will then roll in to the support classes once again. Pre-final for KA Master, then KA Junior, 11 a.m. 1-minute board being showed to the drivers here in our first group of KA100 Senior. The qualifying group set to roll out here. Talk of the day right now is a very quick racetrack, significantly faster than yesterday. The wind's nowhere near what we had yesterday, blowing that dirt and dust across the racetrack on many areas of the track. Anytime drivers got off the facility as well, more dust getting blown back. So the first drivers coming through the corner in any one of the races were essentially surprised by grip levels, sometimes negatively. Talking to Paulie Massimino following Joe Turney, just kind of letting Joe go through it first. It was just kind of a wild setup. But indeed, rolling out here now for what we expect to be a very quick session. KA100 Senior, the first of 2 groups rolling on track. Big field for KA100 Senior drivers, stacked for sure. I mentioned those junior drivers working their way up, of course, coming out of the junior categories. A couple years in junior, they've had some success there for sure, but then jumping up to have to go head-to-head against guys like Paulie Massimino, Caden McQueen, Diego Ramos, Chase Hand, the guys that have been around for a number of years, the Caleb Gaffaras as well, right? So always kind of stepping things up out of your comfort zone, but very quickly coming to grips with the level of competition, understanding the pace that you do have, the skills that you were able to develop through your years in junior. Doesn't take much to get them leveled up to run in the senior categories, although one of the biggest things is trying to gain the respect from the drivers that are around you, whether you're in KA100 Senior or if you're in the Pro X30 category. You're still the young punk coming into the series, right? You got to earn your respect, and you do that by clean racing, hard racing, but also not laying over when you're getting pressured by some of the drivers as well. Yeah, you know what? If a guy's making a move, you give him that spot, but you fight back at it. The whole idea is to make sure that the drivers who are the established front runners learn to have to respect you on the racetrack. A little bit of gravel shot out there on the outside of turn number 4. That happens a lot when drivers will drop a wheel on the exit. Yes, there is some exit curbing that you could climb over, but a lot of times drivers will go just a little bit too far. We saw a lot of that yesterday. And when you come back on track, bringing a lot of that gravel on to the racetrack, that really ruins the inside line coming down in to turn number 5. 5, the double apex right-hander, so crucial in the run into the S's.
We've got our cameras right now on two notable drivers here, one of the RPG machines and Ruben Moya working together. Well, we're working together. Now he's obviously gone on by the driver of the 951, Jack Small, right there. Moya yesterday unable to turn any laps. We saw him in the warm-up. He had a little bit of trouble in the Pro X30 class getting off the grid. Eventually did, but he was fastest in the warm-up for KA Senior. He's probably one of the only drivers that had new tires to burn because obviously he didn't get to run yesterday. So I'd have to imagine they would have used that set to get the most accurate read they could get for qualifying. And with even just one less group going to the racetrack between warm-ups and qualifying for when they would go back out, because if you go back to yesterday, right, the KA Seniors ran after the Pro Shifter qualifying sessions, I believe. We ran KA Junior, then Pro Shifter, split by Microsoft, indeed, and then KA Senior. So they actually had 2 less sessions, or have 2 less sessions today for the track to change or develop from warm-up in the morning compared to a day ago. So for the KA Senior drivers, this is as close as they have been, and for the classes around them, similarly to what warm-ups could have been. And I wonder how big of an advantage that could be for Ruben Moya. The downside, obviously, he's not on the racetrack with the fast group. We know this class does have a bit of an improvement if you're able to get a draft. We see Colin Lloyd there, who has already stood on the top step of the podium in 2026 with a win back at the SKUSA Winter Series. He absolutely could be a threat today, but he wasn't really a factor yesterday. His teammate
14th yesterday.
Yeah, was up there and he wasn't. So how much could he learn from Caden McQueen to make the difference on Sunday? And Moya, on the other hand, Spencer Smith, his teammate, was in the top 10 for a lot of the warm-up sessions, so maybe they got a little bit of a read, but he's still flying pretty blind, and he's one of many drivers who has never been to this circuit before. So he had Thursday, had a session and a half on Friday, and that's it.
That's it. He is on top of the 51.873, half a second quicker than Colin Lloyd. So if you think Lloyd finishing 14th yesterday, a half a second up bodes well for Ruben Moya in the Pantano for Forward Direction Motorsports. Lloyd running in second, Archer Eversman in third, Killian Harris fourth, Enzo Noel now in the 5th spot, Grace Quinones in 6th, Lydia Small, Kalani Anaya, Wrigley Keys, and Maxime Barron rounding out the top 10. Just on the outside of the top 10, 12th, Bailey Murphy. We don't see a lot of drivers do both the senior and masters category in the double dip. Murphy right in the middle of the race, win fight in the masters category, but a little further back here right now in the KA 100 senior. 4 laps are done. Checkered flag fly and make it 0.4 of a second now. The lead for Moya, 51.873. We'll see where that stacks up when the remainder of the field rolls out. Enzo Noel does work his way up into the 2nd spot. Colin Lloyd still in 3rd. Jackson Menchu up into 4th in your Fast 5, rounded out by Archer Eversman.
And that 51.893, if you compare it to yesterday, was a couple of tenths clear. What Paulie Massimino was able to do in their qualifying session. But if the delta is anywhere from 7 tenths to a second, that means you've still got a lot more for the lap times to drop with this group, the fast group going on the racetrack. Heartbreaking end of the day for Isaac Malcutt yesterday. Little sizzle. Had got to the leaders right at the last second and then got completely sandwiched. The left front tire, both right side tires. The only tire that didn't have any contact coming out of turn 4, Rob, was his left rear. And he got sent way off, totally out of his control into the gravel. Granted, he was at the back of the group that ended up shuffling Caden McQueen off to the side. So just a lot of argy-bargy stuff at the end of that session. Alexander Vanchev yesterday, quiet run for him in both classes. Today looking for a little bit more. And for yesterday's winner, Paulie Massimino, to be down the board behind Dean Peterson, as you can see from Friday happy hour, but then to be the fastest in qualifying. Seems to always work out best. Again, you don't have to drop back because you're already right behind a couple of drivers that you might have a leg up on. At least that was the case on Saturday. How much speed has the rest of the field found to bring the fight to Ramos and McQueen and Massimino, who certainly have a case to be made as being the bar standard in KA Senior based on yesterday's sessions. Already McQueen going by Alexander Vanchev there to position himself closer towards the front. Isaac Malcutt going straight out of the pit lane just like Nico Orbezo did in KA Junior, not wanting to waste any time or run the risk of trying to set up for a toe lap, but potentially getting traffic.
Yeah, I don't think with the wind that we had yesterday, we don't have here today, that particular toe, I don't know if it's going to be that important. This is the really one big long straightaway we have down here to turn number 11. Maybe the clean track a little more important than potentially getting that toe lap, although we'll see whether or not he gets reeled in here as they're just going to get things underway. Coming across to get it started. Xander Diego Ramos, I believe they're right behind. Yeah, there's the national number 1 right behind. He's got open racetrack as well.
And then it's McQueen and Vanchev who are teeing up to try and get off the back of him. I think Ramos might be able to, if he is faster than Malkut, be in the catbird seat to tow up to him, because I probably won't have anything that deters him from a consistent pace with a clear track in front. Doesn't look like a lot of the field lag back. All of them should be able to get the full 4-lap distance. The micros got pipped a little bit, the back half of their group. With these guys all just going straight out of the pit lane, the first couple of starters just happily running their own lines and not trading positions all too much. I mean, that's the first one we see there. Ramos letting McQueen and Vanchev go by on the backstretch to reset himself for a toe lap.
Yeah.
Going right in cue with what I was saying, that I think it's always optimal if you can to reset later in the session. Not all the way at the end, but just a little bit further on than the beginning.
Chase Hand, the quickest driver on the opening lap. He'll move up into the 14th position, 52.660, 7/10 of a second back. Paulie Massimino, Halfin, Cagle, and Gavin McCune, top 5 here on the opening lap. Of course, that's just drivers getting the tires up to temperature, getting comfortable.
And so far, here in the qualifying session, as we take a look to try and see where the lap times are, quickest, yeah, indeed, a good ways off on that opening lap. But they're all in one big group, really, going all the way back to the likes of Johnny Stamps there, or I guess 2 groups here. You can call the split back by Chase Hand. Massimino now going by Ramos. McQueen and Vanchev, they got a good start to this lap, but they are kind of on their lonesome. So let's see what this time by looks for them at the stripe. First couple laps in, and it's Massimino pipping all the way up to second. He gets up to a 52 flat. So good time for him.
Spencer Smith, 3rd. Chase Hand, Matthew Cagle, Jose Halfin, Gavin McCune, Caden McQueen, Isaac Malkut, Enzo Noel, who was 2nd, P10 now, as Ruben Moya still on top of the 51.893. He's got just under 0.2 of a second on lap number 2. You know that's going to fall here on lap number 3. Interesting to see these drivers making moves on the racetrack to find out who they want to be behind. Don't want to get caught up a bit. Remember, Diego Ramos was essentially the lead of this group that's trying to chase down Isaac Malkut, but he's fell back into the group to 4th, needs to have that toe, and maybe that's going to give us a little more indication, Xander. That toe is going to play a significant role. We'll be able to contrast that to the pace put down by Malkut once we get rolling here.
That time by for Paulie was good. It wasn't amazing. It's still going to be Ruben Moya right now with a quick time. Massimino to a 51.9. But he needs a couple of hundredths, so we're not picking up as much speed as before.
Malkut by himself with no toe, P4, a 52.073, 0.2 off. So no issues about anybody trying to go by him, get in the way, check him up. I like the decision by Malkut to get the heck out of the way, because we saw a lot of messy action yesterday in the qualifying session for KA. He's had things essentially his own way, no issues. Get out there, put the laps down. This will be the final lap for these drivers. I believe they'll come across. We will likely see the checkered flag being thrown to Malkut as he comes across the start-finish line here. Indeed, there it is. Does he go to the top of the charts on lap 4?
No, but Paulie does. There we go. 51.86. Moya's still holding nice. Malkut to 3rd, Hand to 4th. Matt Cagle, the rookie, with a good run to 5th. Caleb G with an improvement. Jose Halfin was trying to tow off the back of that pack. It did help him. Got to 7th.
Xander, 1/100th of a second. Moya, very impressive in that opening group, 51.863. Another pole position for Paulie Massimino. The momentum is there for Paulie in the BGR machine. Moya, Malkut, Hand, and Cagle. Matthew Cagle, another good run. What a great start to the season for this young driver. P5 in qualifying. Caleb Gaffera improving up to 6th. He mentioned on social that they were able to get a little bit of extra pace during practice and warm-up, rather. Halfin ends up in 7th. Spencer Smith in 8th. Jackson Gibson 9th. Diego Ramos ends up in the 10th position.
So Diego Ramos, from leading that group, then reset and ends up only, Rob, a couple of hundredths, a couple thousandths off of what could have been a P6. It'll be the outside of row 5 for him, and then look how close it is still all the way back
like you said, Bailey Murphy smack dab in the middle in K Senior. We know he'll be a threat to K Master, and I got to think the extra track time certainly helps a little bit to bring the fight to Phil DeLeo and the rest of that 18 driver contingent. But of the 46, yesterday's winner still atop the heat. Paulie Massimino, fastest by a matter of thousandths, 1/100th over Ruben Moya from the slow group. Isaac Malcutt, Chase Hand, Matt Cagle. Certainly some notables further back on that grid, like Caden McQueen, a little bit buried compared to yesterday, getting to go on the front row. Jackson Gibson also a little bit further back than yesterday. But here we are with X30 Junior set to go green here in any given moment. Lawrence Perriman, one of many juniors making the full jump up into the category, as is a look here, and this is a great look close up at Troy Ferguson and that brand new Bennick full-size chassis. Yesterday it had good speed, Rob. He ran inside the top 10 for a kid in his first full season on a brand new go-kart. It's at least new to him, so he doesn't know what any other full-size go-kart probably feels like all too much. He spent a little bit of time driving for factory karts, but still so early in the development. It's not like a Ryan Norberg after so many years on an OTK moving to GFC, or the list goes on of experienced drivers spending their entire career developing around how one frame handles and then moving to another. He's got a blank slate, and I think that certainly helps, not to mention the talent of that young man.
Yeah, it's been great to watch Troy come up through the cadet category ranks, now up into the X30 Junior category, and with that Bennick program, which, like you said, has shown very well. Not only full-size chassis, but also going to be a shifter kart as well. So the crew at Bennick expanding on what has been a long run with their very successful cadet chassis program. Great to see Bennick moving their way into full-size karts. And I'm sure we're going to see Chase Gassey at Lee working his way forward as well. Still Troy Ferguson there, and again, anticipating the debut of the shifter kart as well. Perriman's going to lead him out here to get things underway. X30 Junior, the Brandon Jarsacrack racing driver in the number 717. So just getting the opening couple laps rolling here right now. We saw some very impressive performances. The driver out front by himself now is Perriman. The other driver in the race we just saw, the session in KA100 Senior Qualifying, that was Isaac Malcutt, able to get out by himself, had a fantastic qualifying run, and he stands by right now with Caleb.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Standing by here with Isaac Malcutt. Ike, pretty good qualifying session there, putting yourself up to third in what's really your first weekend in the KA Senior category. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it feels really good. We definitely have really good pace. We've been fast all weekend. I think we have a good piece going into the pre-final and final today. But yeah, feel really good, really confident going into the pre-final and final. And yeah, we just feel really fast. Kart feels good. We changed a little bit overnight and feels a lot better. I think we're really quick, and I think we got it today.
Look, you were obviously doing CKNA competition in senior last year. You did road tax to start off the year. Tell me what's different this weekend racing in the KA Senior category in senior.
Honestly, just racing in senior is just a lot more aggressive compared to racing in junior, and all the drivers are a lot more consistent, just overall better in my opinion. So it makes it really difficult to be, running up front in senior compared to junior.
Was this your expectation this weekend, coming out first weekend in KA and putting it third on Sunday?
Yeah, honestly, I felt really good coming into the weekend. I thought we were going to be, honestly, about this quick. We're normally really quick in the KA class, so yeah, definitely felt pretty good.
Thank you, Ike. Best of luck.
Yep, thanks.
Listen, you guys were here last weekend as well. David Cole told me how quick Ike was, and again, coming out of the gate here after that weekend, could be a driver we talk about all year long.
Could be. The speed was good already in the winter series that he's run thus far. Was phenomenal at the Florida Winter Tour with the Rock Cup USA program. Was good at our number of stints in Texas for the Winter Series. We saw the speed on display yesterday. Just didn't quite come together till the end. But like he said, they were able to find some speed overnight. Mike Doty, of course, a legend in the sport. He has developed some of the very best. So you've got a phenomenal amount of experience and championships and race wins in your corner there if you're Isaac Malcutt. No doubt in my mind that they were going to find some speed today. It certainly shows.
And like I said, was the driver who bolted away from the grid, did not want to wait, didn't get into a race group, didn't try to slot himself around, reposition himself like you had mentioned with Diego Ramos and a couple other drivers, just bolted off the grid, went out, banged out his 4 laps, put it back in the
I
scales.
think that speaks to confidence right there. If you go out there by yourself and you totally neglect the attempt to try and get a toe, like what we're seeing here, where a lot of the X30 juniors are packed up, that just shows how much confidence you have in your speed. Right now, Troy Ferguson, middle of the pack, actually back of this kind of main group, went fastest. He's been pipped by Grayson Walcott, looking for some better luck today. Walcott's right in the middle of the two groups, going fastest. He's about fourth on the racetrack with the black and pink helmet and the Rollison Performance Group livery. There he is in the 744 going into turn number 4 right now. Grayson, yesterday, heartbreaking end to the pre-final, running inside the top 15, and then ends up with, it looked like a mechanical because of the way that he kind of exited the track at turns 11 and 12. He didn't have the best angle of it, but it ended up anyway it was, whatever the cause, with him watching the final lap from the sidelines. Had a valiant drive through the pack in the main event to get further up the board, and now obviously he's fastest here in our first group X30 Junior, and it looks like this lap would have been better, but he just caught Leo Da Silva about 2 turns too early, Rob. He might get beaten. Let's see. That lap before was good. It's holding all right. His teammate joins him at second. And I think it'll stick. 51 flat. Grayson Walcott, about a 2/10 margin to his teammate Paxton Romero in the team-sponsored division. Rollison Performance Group X30 Junior. Ferguson third. John McClellan fourth. And then it is Peyton Anderson in fifth. That's the first 15 of the 30. And there were 2 that stood above them all in that. Travis Pettit, Ashton Woon, one of them trying to chase them down and hunt for that last couple of hundredths. Royce Vega. So impressive he has been here, Rob, for a mini driver moving up to junior. He moved up, of course, at the end of last summer. The mini Swift season didn't go quite to plan. It didn't seem like they really found footing for young Royce at the early part of the year. He actually made a swap from teams early in the season, tried something else, went from the Bennick chassis to the Kart Republic chassis, which JHD held. Neither one, I mean, he was still good, but it wasn't maybe a dominant performance for a driver who has been already at the top of the world's biggest stage, the Supernats.
Yeah, Xander, I wasn't there at the Summer Nationals. Did he win a race at the Summer Nationals but then get DQ'd for an issue? I think a jump start or something?
It was something weird.
Penalized?
Yeah, it was an on-track infraction, but it certainly didn't take away from the performance.
Yeah.
But the speed was exceptional. And I mean, that race, just like this one, talk about a test physically. 88 degrees, 70% or something insane humidity level. And to go out there, you know how hot it is at Summer Nats.
Yeah.
You and I have sweated it out many years in our early stages of the Kart Chaser broadcast. We were up in the Scale Tower building, which is sealed on the top floor, but no air conditioning.
My goodness.
98 to 100 degrees for us there. Granted, it was hot for us in Texas as well as we were getting our footing here in the production truck. But we're cool this weekend. We still got our jackets on, and the drivers will not be. This will be equally a test to that. So for a new kid to go up, I always say that I think it's the sharpest jump in a kid's development, to go from having tires that are the same size all the way around to now double the size on the rear of the go-kart. The horsepower jump, I mean, it's a 3x multiplier from a 9-horsepower Mini Swift to a 28-horsepower X30 Junior, and then the physicality, the extra 100 pounds of minimum weight almost. It's a lot on a young 11 or 12-year-old's body, and you can see here the temps today. Gonna get hot, still nice and cool right now.
I think we don't talk a lot about what you just said, the heavier kart as well. Just the whole thing for some of these young drivers who are pretty tiny when they're working their way up from cadet into these categories. That's a big thing. The karts are a lot heavier, a lot wider. Like you said, the bigger tires. There's just so much more when you jump into the KA and the X30 categories. So, indeed, a little bit of action happening, a little strategy going on here right now. Not everybody wanting to line things up. A couple drivers moving to the inside of the racetrack, coming out of 10 down to 11. Opening couple of laps here for the drivers, just getting things going in this X30 Junior class. Remember the time to beat, a 51.026 for Grayson Walcott. Colton Schniegenberg, the quickest of the group to get out of here in the outlap. Braden Wagner, Asher Pavan, 1, 2, 3. But again, they're back in 14th, 17th, and 18th.
Oh, no. William Vitor. Look at that white and blue machine on the inside of turn number 3. He's obviously looking at the chain or something around the engine compartment there that has come undone, and that's going to put him all the way to the back. Not a single lap going to be turned for that MPG driver.
Well, he'll have fun coming from the back of the pack in the pre-final, but he'll be disappointed after showing so well yesterday inside the top 10. Very impressive speed out of Vitor. But again, he'll have to leverage that speed and put in a storybook run from the deep in the field after the issue here. Didn't even get one lap in, so that was on the outlap, whatever mechanical issue was for Vitor. And as Xander potentially said, likely a chain. Not surprising to see that happen on the outlap. Coming through turn number 1 again. Let's see how things move. Not surprisingly, lap number 2. Colton Schniegenberg on the Ryan Perry Motorsports machine straight to P1. Number 787, 50.852, almost 0.2 of a second quicker than Grayson Walcott on lap number 2. Xander, so much more speed still to come.
Yeah, there's still a lot of life left in this session, right? 1.5 minutes at minimum left for the fast group. So Travis Pettit, similar to how we were talking about Isaac Malcutt, going out at the front of the pack, doesn't mind giving a tow at all. I mean, he gave a tow to Ashton Woon the whole main event, and he still was untouched. He was just perfect. No other way to describe it. Let's see what this quali lap looks like for the 729. It will not be quickest. In fact, it won't even be in the top 5. Huge lap out of Ashton Woon. Talk about a burner. 50.608. Katowski, Schneegenberg, DeGennaro, Mateo Calderon up and into the top 5 on that lap too.
Yeah, one of the groups in there just dialed things in a big way. We watched Pettit jump up to second, watched Katowski go to P1, then boom, everybody else worked their way to the top of the pylon. Woon, Katowski, Schneegenberg, DeGennaro, and Calderon, the current fast 5. And you got to go back to 9th position before you get 0.3 of a second off that lead pack, or that lead pace. 50.608 Ashton Woon, P1.
Ashton Woon still needs probably to go better this lap because there wasn't a lot of passing. There's a couple drivers kind of shuffling there in the brake zone going into 11, but this will be the true test. How much does the pylon change at the line for the final time? Pettit up the board, won't be enough. Woon versus Katowski, and Ashton has another answer. He picks up 2 full tenths on that final lap, Rob. 50.428. Ashton Woon woke up and ate his Wheaties here on Sunday morning, Rob. That is a performance and a half. Look at the gap, 2.5 tenths to Pettit. Granted, maybe that's a little bit of tow, but either way, he went out there and he got the job done.
Yeah, Katowski was on the top of the pylon for what, maybe 0.3 of a second himself, because literally the minute he went to the top, Ashton Woon went quicker with a 50.420. You see the remainder of the field, 10 on down. Woon, Katowski, Pettit. Pettit able to come back, go to P3. Tristan Murphy 4th, Colton Schneegenberg in 5th. Vega, Wagner, DeGennaro, Calderon, and Macha, the top 10. An exciting second group qualifying for the drivers there in the X30 Junior category, and Ashton Woon in the 703 going to the top of the charts.
And he was 2.5 tenths clear on the rest of the field. X30 Junior, Ashton Woon looking to go better on Sunday. He's going to have a chance to do it from the prettiest spot on the grid when they take to the racetrack later today.
Karting isn't just speed. It's control, precision, freedom. At Atlanta Motorsport Park, Kart Freedom isn't just a team. It's where drivers are made.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo. Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
Welcome back to Musselman Honda Circuit. 2 classes still have grids to be set. It's our final 2 qualifying sessions from Tucson, Arizona. Mini Swift getting ready to go. There's a look at Frankie Mossman giving some final coaching here to Mason Brody, one of many Ryan Perry Motorsport Nitro cars that have been the class of the field.
Just a couple of weeks ago, it was actually Mason at Arlington, Texas at Frankie Mossman's race in the USF Pro 2000 category. It was good to see those guys there. We had a bunch of drivers there. Royce Vega was hanging out. Hudson Howard was there as well. So, yeah, good to see Frankie Mossman coming back here on a weekend to take care of his young driver, Mason Brody. But indeed, what a fantastic race this was yesterday, and we talked about it in the pre-show already. RPM versus Dutch Westbrook, essentially on the racetrack, with Mason Brody, Jake Manalio, and Lucas Tarango surrounding that Bennick driver. But indeed, Dutch Westbrook, the driver of that number 133 machine right there, incredible pace yesterday, and again, battling against drivers. No teammates out there at all, cannot be easy. But the overall pace was there for sure. So we'll see how it plays again. Mason Brody did come away with the victory yesterday, and we'll see how it plays out here as the drivers will roll out for qualifying. 4 laps here. If they're lucky, if they get the job done and don't mess around too much on this reconnaissance lap, get out there, get those tires up to temperature, and get back to work. And indeed, to remind you, they are all on fresh tires coming out here for qualifying. It's always a bit of a step to watch during the opening warm-up there. You don't want to loop that kart around. Temperatures are rising up, getting closer to 80 degrees here trackside. Another driver bolting away early.
Indeed, that is Dutch Westbrook, not wanting to waste any time. Granted, that's probably the only strategy he's really got that might work outside of hooking up with a non-teammate of Hudson Howard, or doing what he's doing right here, waiting on everyone, trying to hope somebody goes ahead of him. Lucas, oh no, that could happen. Spinner in the back, 156. That is one of the Pantanos for Forward Direction Motorsport, it appears, that has been a victim of the slowing down as Chase Rittering. Meanwhile, all according to plan as things build up here for 2 teammates. Brody Stoffel goes on past what looks to be Liam Astalis there in the Kid X Performance USA, that new Kart Republic operation, headed up by Jonathan Kotick, multi-time national race winner, multi-time Team USA member at the Rotax Grand Finals, and a former F1600 champion in the SDCA runoffs, and I think the regular Hoosier Super Tour. Mouthful there, Rob. Trying to list off all the accolades. They speak for themselves. Juggy is a huge asset to any team that he's at. Now he gets to head up and heck of a wheelman.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And yeah, fantastic as a coach for the young drivers.
So now everybody's backing up, battling. Tarango now to the front of the pack behind Dutch Westbrook. So Dutch will get a clean lap. Nobody else really will on this first time by. It'll be 2/10 up on everyone, but they've caught back up to him even with a couple of passes. So he'll be kind of a sitting duck out front here as the field works its way out of turn number 1. He realizes it, trying to wait up, and that's going to be running the risk of drawing the eye of the officials for impeding. This is the downside about wanting to wait till a lap into the session to try and re-rack yourself, Rob, because you've got to be so perfect to where you reintegrate into the line. Obviously, you don't want to go all the way to the back or slow down so much or get clag on the tires by going offline in a bad area that's really dirty, and you end up sacrificing your qualifying session based on where you re-rack. But at the same point, you can't impede anyone else's quick time. Granted, we know the fast time's probably going to happen on lap 4, but the penalty will hit regardless, so hopefully Dutch is going to be clear of that, but that could draw the ire of the officials for the moment. He resets himself by the end of the lap into 4th, and there's contact again further back. Max Santana, it looks like, and I don't know if that was Samuel Chavarri. It was, the 106 and the 119 colliding at turn 12. Would love another look at that, too. I don't know why we're racing as hard as we are in Mini Swift Quali, but this might as well be a just battle session.
Was it just a drop wheel potentially coming out of turn number 12? That happens when you're pushing the limit there and dropping a wheel and potentially shooting back across the racetrack. Or was it just literally side-by-side
No, it was side-by-side, and it looked like neither one wanted to back out of it. And kind of, here it is. Look at this, top of the screen. Yeah, Santana's just kind of following him, pushing into the side pod of him.
And one of the drivers did go off the side. Like, watch here.
Yeah, it's the Barrel Art of Chavarri. And see, but he was connected with
Yeah,
the
he
medic.
was. Yeah.
Santana wanted the spot, and then they were like stuck together. They looked like they fully missed the corner here at turn 12, or if they entered it really flat. I mean, you can see right there with the ground shot how dirty it is there, plus the huge divot offline too, off the racetrack. Not the case, though, for the RPM crew. How about it for Mason Brody? 4/10 clear. Brody Stoffel will join him on the front row provisionally by a couple thousandths up over Westbrook. If all holds here, provisional results has Westbrook 3rd, Santana 5th.
0.4 of a second.
Yeah,
That's
that was
big.
a burner.
Yeah.
So
fantastic lap.
Yeah, great stuff for Mason Brody. Brody Stoffel, Dutch Westbrook, Colton Brook with an improvement from yesterday, moving from the edge of the top 10 to the edge of the top 5. Nice run there. How about a driver knocking on the door of the top 10? Jake Craig hovered the teens yesterday. The former Pro Tour and Supernatch champion Pro X30 making his long-awaited return. Saw a comment on our socials about it. Feels like this is WrestleMania with a big comeback here. Jake Craig made the decision on Monday with him and Matt Johnson to return to the scene yesterday. Decent speed, kind of getting closer to it, probably getting his bearings again and getting ready to go. And now he'll be set to go out in the first of the 2 groups for Pro X30 when we return the final qualifying session of the Winter Nationals from Tucson.
IAMI USA West is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50+ years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
Attention Superkarts USA drivers. Be sure to order your complete photo package from On Track Promotions. All drivers receive a minimum of 40 photos from throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with instant access from our automated delivery system. Visit otp.ca right now to get instant access to your photos.
Champions aren't just born on the kart track. At SimShop, we deliver professional-grade simulators with the best performance-to-price ratio in the industry. Founded by racers who understand what you need, our SimMagic and Moza equipment is powerful enough for the pros, yet affordable for everyone. With unmatched customer support and a thriving community, we're your racing partner. Visit simshop.com today.
So indeed, getting ready to wrap things up here for qualifying. Pre-final still to come. Main events here on round number 2 of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Winter Nationals. 17th season of this Pro Tour. Pro X30 drivers rolling out on track here to get things underway. And not surprisingly, this is where you see the gamesmanship happen. Drivers getting some heat into these Avinco tires, dialing things in, finding out who they have around them. Some of them bolting away, trying to get to the open racetrack. First of 2 groups out here to get things rolling in what is a solid X30 Pro category. Fantastic race yesterday in the Pro class. Couple drivers able to break away, as we know, Joe Turney and Paul DiMassimino. We'll see whether or not we have that happen again today. We made our picks earlier today. Xander leaning into Sean Butcher, who got rooted off the racetrack over in turn number 11 yesterday, expecting him to step back to the forefront. That would not surprise me at all.
No, not one bit.
Not
I mean,
at all.
the speed was good, and he was better on Sunday at the Winter Series than on Saturday. Getting another day to learn the racing. I think back to when Gus Lawrence made his debut here stateside. You know, he led laps at his opener at the U.S. Pro Kart Series at Trackhouse, dominated the heats in that format of 3 heat races that are shorter distance and then a longer final. In the longer final, the tires kind of went away on him.
Yep.
Then the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati for the Spring Nationals was his 2nd race weekend. In the first of the 2 main events, same scenario. Wins the pre-final, main event, leads early, falters in the last 5 laps or so as the tires fade away. And he was in the RPG truck looking at data for probably 3 hours, comparing himself to Ryan Norberg and his teammates, what he could do different. Turned it up on Sunday, started the race, looked like the same scenario. Gus Lawrence to about a 1.5-second lead over Garrison and Norberg, and it held all the way to the end. Austin and Ryan had a drag race to the line, a photo finish, but on Sunday it was for P2. On the first day it was for the race win.
Yeah.
So Gus Lawrence took 1 extra day, got a little bit better on the weekend, and he said it was, just such a big difference to go from the tracks and the tire combination in the UK and the rest of Europe to what we have here. They run the Comet brand of tires, still comes out of the MG and Avinco factory back in Brazil, so the tire compound is the same, but the surfaces are different, the environment's different, and I was talking with him a little bit when I was over there with a really cool journey to get to see Kart Masters and talk to and see that scene up close for the very first time last summer. And PF International, right, that's their Newcastle Motorsports Park, except on steroids because the country's so much more densely populated. That place will have 50 people driving on it during the week and 100 on every race weekend. They'll run rental karts, but they'll run it on a very sporadic schedule. Not the case here at Musselman Honda Circuit. This racetrack hasn't seen this many go-karts with race rubber on it really since the Pro Tour. And even then, as you mentioned in the preview, it was about 40 entries less than now. So with the added day of a full Thursday test session, another 50 go-karts hitting the racetrack each day, night and day difference from then. And that was, again, over a decade ago. So
Ruben Moya making a good move there. We haven't seen a pass done over in turn number 10 yet. You can make that pass, I guess it's 9, but the end of the S is making a move to the inside to get through and clean. Didn't want to get checked up there as he currently sits back in the 5th spot with Overbeck on top. But that was a good move that can be made there. You can dive to the inside there as the driver sets up in that corner. So that was a really good look at that. Overbeck now goes to top of the charts here right now with a 50.110. Ryan Norberg up into second. Donald Bonilla in third. One thing we'll take an opportunity right now. Let's just give a shout out because he would oftentimes be racing in this category, the Pro X30 class. But Alessandro Di Tullio scoring his first win in the Indy Next Series here today at Barber Motorsports Park. He and Max Taylor battled it out yesterday for the race win. They got together, and that passed the win over to Nikita Johnson, who was running P3. But for Di Tullio, who we saw win races in the USF Junior program and then in USF Pro 2000 just 2 years ago, super exciting to see him. A year ago, super exciting to see him come away with the winner in Indy Next. That is awesome for ADT.
And now, with the first group in the books, who ends up as the winner today in Pro X30? The road to it begins with qualifying, and it's James Overbeck, 49.91. 2/10 up on Ryan Norberg, who was in the top 10 in warm-up, so an improvement for the two-plate to go to second. Donovan Bonilla third, Jake Craig in the top 5, and his quali group again, Buddy J, Jesus Vasquez Jr., top 5. Mentioned, Caleb brought it up on the Perico Pitbox pre-race show that Jesus said, yeah, you need to come and hang out with me before every race now because that was the best start I've ever had. And indeed, it was incredible. I don't know if I've seen anything like it in recent memory to go from outside the top 20 to into the top 5 by the end of lap number 1. Unfortunately, it came partly due to the dismay of the outside lane getting burned on the start. Gus Lawrence, the most notable casualty from that Pro X30 final. He was right there in the hunt of it. Here's a look at how the standings stack up coming into today when it looks at the championship. Of course, they're going to get a drop round on the season, but no point in factoring that in right now because it'll be best 5 out of 6. But with round 1 in the books, JT leads the way by 20 points over Paulie Massimino. That's the difference from first to second in the main event. That was all that separated them, just a couple of hundredths at the line. Lawrence third, Davin Roberts fourth, Vanchev fifth. Who else sticks out to you here on this sheet so far, Rob?
I like Oliver Calvo coming out here with his own team. Calvo driver development, able to go P7 against this stacked field of drivers in Pro X30. I thought it's great to see Oliver back on form.
And talk about the SKUSA Circle of Champions, right? I mean, Oliver Calvo, if he has another good day, he ends up in the top 10 in points. He might see that as enough incentive to follow the rest of the championship back out east for the California-based driver because the entire top 10 get a fully funded season. Cash prizes start at $1,000 for 10th place, all the way up to $10K for the champ, and first and second get SuperNets entries for the year as well. And so for Joe Turney, for Paulie Massimino, that's a bit of a help in his program with Brandon Jarchakrak Racing, but he gets some support there. Turney, obviously, a factory pilot backed by Kart Republic North America, so it's a help for him. It probably factors into his prize package as well in his driver agreement. But for Oliver Calvo, independent, team owner, Tony Stewart style, that's huge when you look at the books at the end of a race season. If he could get that, give him a reason to be able to keep on playing out there with the rest of the Pro X30s in 2027.
Yeah, just fueling his program as well, right? Showing those young drivers who will work with him that, this is the guy who has won many races over his career and can win even more races. One thing to look at here right now, Xander, 49.692 was the fast time in qualifying for Joe Turney yesterday. 49.914 for James Overbeck, 0.3 off of the fast time from yesterday. And everything we've seen so far is this track is a lot quicker. So 49.6 yesterday. We've got to expect we're going to be potentially into the 48s. Otherwise, low 49s as the green's been given to the drivers here on pit lane underneath the canopy to keep them cool. Drivers further back rolling out, number of them kind of still hanging around. Not surprising. We see a lot of that here as drivers will wait to try to be the last drivers out. One driver having some trouble getting things fired up. Diego Ramos, Xander, getting this thing fired up. They had to bring a starter out to get it fired up.
That's big. Diego Ramos able to at least get up and away, but he'll be all by himself for the rest of the session. Well, maybe not. We're waiting around, taking our sweet time to get the fast group going. Watch out, boys. James Overbeck might steal the pole from under your noses here if you play too many games. Who's going to be the one to give up? Davin Roberts says, all right, I'll go. You guys can hang out back there by himself. I believe 14-year-old. He had just entered middle school, Rob, last August.
Unbelievable.
So he had been in elementary school when he first moved up to Pro X30. That kid is growing like nothing else. 6 foot plus already.
I was going to say, just look how he sits in that go-kart.
And so there was no question. The only way for him to be competitive was to ask the series for a waiver. But what's been so cool is how well received he has been by the veterans of the field. They've talked about how he has been a welcomed presence there, and I think he's earned the respect of many with his speed and how smart his racecraft has been. Caleb, as they begin to form up at some point, we expect. What do you have for us here for Pro X30 Group 2?
Move out of Davin Roberts doesn't surprise me at all. Yesterday, Davin lost the final lap in his qualifying session. Because of this here, everybody was waiting in that initial lap, and Davin was stuck in the middle of the group. He couldn't set an extra lap, and after speaking with him before the pre-final, he felt like he could have had a better lap on that final lap. He still had more pace left in that RPM Tony Kart, and I think he's one of the ones to watch here in this session.
So Davin Roberts is going to take full advantage of this session. Meanwhile, everybody else is only just building up speed. Paulie Massimino has a fury of karts behind him. First up, Blake Nash trying to follow yesterday's runner-up in the 3-plate. Aiden Ingrata is in that group, I think, if not one of the other REM machines. Might be Josh Sumvalis, his return to home. No, indeed, that is Ingrata there in the 10-plate. And then up the road, you find a handful of RPG machines. Joe Turney a little bit further back. He's trailing from Dean Peterson. Meatball flag for someone. It was one of those four. Who was that we just saw? We believe it may be Aiden Ingrata. Meatball flag for the 310. That is big-time implications for the Canadian and the last driver that sneaked his way into the Circle of Champions fund. Trying to see what the issue is, and I have to imagine it must be transponder related because there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the go-kart, Rob.
Yeah, looking around, we're getting a really good shot at the guys. Did an awesome job to pick him up quickly on track. Bumper looks fine. Everything looks fine around that race car. Maybe just transponder, as you had said.
So if so, Aiden Ingrata will go to the rear for the pre-final. He's still out there turning laps. I hope he realizes what that mechanical flag is for and decides to come in to save the rubber. Maybe he's thinking that it's worth it to push it, but this is going to be the last lap before they could potentially hit him with some harsher penalties. There's another meatball flag for the 310. He obviously was going to the corner at full speed, so I don't think he hit the scales this lap either. No, he's still going on his own, but he won't have any lap. No, he did have a lap time. What is the issue for Ingrata? I wonder what is wrong that they are not happy with him on, because he did score a lap there.
A meatball is a mechanical flag, though, is it not? Like
they've used it for the transponders in practice, I've seen. I've also seen it used for not having numbers on all four sides. Again, that's something that would have plagued someone on Friday.
Yeah.
You obviously don't have anything wrong with it today. He's got his gloves on. He's got his full gear on. So I have no idea what they see that's wrong with him. Let's see if what our boots on the ground crew, what Caleb can figure out as well. Either way, checkers are going this time. We haven't talked enough about what's been at the top. It's Oliver Hodgson right now trying to hold it. Overbeck is still second from the first group. JT looking for a big improvement from sixth. Here we go. Run to the line. Halfin up into the top 10. Turney goes quicker and to the top. Lawrence will get close. Drew into the top 5 along with Blake Nash. Sean Butcher to third.
Turney, Lawrence, Butcher, Hodgson had the spot. He'll be 0.06 of a second back. Drew just over a 10th back as well. Nash, Overbeck holding on to P7. Very interesting as honestly, they only went, Xander, they did a 49.692. They actually went slower for the Pro X30. Very surprising, with the other categories going so much quicker throughout the qualifying runs. 49.723. Again, Turney, Lawrence, Butcher, Hodgson, Drew, top 5. Nash, Overbeck holds on for 7th. He'll be pleased with that. Paulie Massimino battled Turney for the race win yesterday, back in 8th spot ahead of Dean Peterson and Diego Ramos. So a lot going on. Ruben Moya ends up in the 24th spot. Davin Roberts, who went out by himself, that did not play out well. He needed that tow. He ends up 31st. So a lot of action there. A lot of different things to unpack. Norberg back in 15th. Kaminsky 16th. Doan 17th. Caden McQueen back in the 19th position. Vasquez in 22nd. Man, shake things up for sure. And here it is here. Here's the discussion that Aiden Ingrata is having with the SKUSA official.
Yeah, Pat letting him know, hey, man, we might give you one lap if you see that flag and you don't come in, but just disregarding it, that's what he's getting the talking to more so right now.
That's why they were taking you off track at the time that you cut. All right? You got to really be patient. You have any, you've been at her long enough, you know.
Oh, okay. That adds up here, Rob. The corner marshal must have assisted Ingrata. He must have gone off early in the session. Once a corner marshal touches the go-kart is dead. So in the first corner, early in the session, off camera, Ingrata went off. As soon as a marshal went to assist him, then he's done.
You're done.
He's not allowed to return to the racetrack. That's a safety precaution. That makes sense. It also makes sense why it was a meatball flag and not a black flag in this case. They were trying to let him know, hey, this isn't an unsportsmanlike conduct or avoidable contact, but technically his session ends the moment that a marshal touches the machine.
That's a weird thing, too, because, right, if you've ever gotten a meatball flag, you're always looking around your machinery to see if there's anything wrong with it. And if there's nothing wrong, you want to continue on very likely, and maybe instead of, beg for forgiveness instead of asking for permission kind of a thing. So.
Oh, here it is. Look at this. Okay, so there you go. Ingrata off on the inside. It must have been coming out of the pits. And it was probably when we were looking down at Diego Ramos. So you can see right there, yeah, he got some assistance.
Yep.
Unable to do that. You can get yourself back onto the racetrack.
I was just going to say.
And you can try to wave off the official to get them to not come over.
Yeah, if you're watching this right now, young drivers, do it yourself. The minute a SKUSA official touches it, Aiden was sitting in the cart waiting for the help. You got to get out and do it yourself, for sure.
Well, you can see racing's getting set to go. Pro Shifters pre-final is on tap. First of our race sessions on the day. Pro X30 topped by Joe Turney. And racing action here getting set to go from Musselman Honda Circuit. We can't wait to see these superstars take to it. Martin Kremers, top of the heap after the heat points were tallied up. He's happy to be back, and he's ready to go with his Carblos-powered Maranello on their last session on these Evenkos before stickers come their way for the 25-lapper.